if you associate yourself with me, a lot of people may not like you because I associate with people they may not like. Who you surround yourself with in any space, people will automatically judge you.
That does get you into hot water because people don't like that. They want you to fully be like, I would never talk to this person.
If you want to bash me and rip an opportunity away and not fucking engage with me, then like that's your karma. I have nothing to do with that. Best of luck. I want everybody to eat. Sometimes it's not at my table.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Unfiltered Gamers, where I'm set on fighting Mad because she is just she's like, I work, I party, I work and party, I party for work, and like I'm tired of this. Anyway, welcome to another episode. My name is Della.
I'm Mad
With
Curious.
me as always. Wait, I'm sorry I cut you off. Say that again.
I'm Mad Curious.
Okay. It's early and we're drinking. It's like what, 11 a.m. and we're all drinking. Well, I'm drinking. I have a problem. But with us today we have a special guest all the way from the high mountains of a place called Colorado. Am I saying that right? Colorado?
Yep.
And the Alpine Mountains with fucking, I think Coors is made there. Is Coors made in Colorado?
Yeah, it comes out of the water taps. It's all Coors, actually.
Fucking amazing. We have with us Hannah, or as she goes by, Foxxontherocks. Wait, is that it? Am I right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
double on. You get the alcohol side and the mountain side on the rocks. Look at that.
Wow.
On the rocks.
Very fancy.
So Hannah, tell the beautiful viewers about yourself.
Yeah. I'm Hannah. I play a lot of first-person shooters. I'm a mental health streamer and advocate, and I spend a lot of my time now playing video games professionally. And that's it. I'm kind of just vibing. I started my community in 2015, a long time ago, because I'm really old on the internet, and took a break to start my full-time career, and then came back in 2020 when we were all stuck at home in a full-time career, as many people did, and revived it, and now I'm here.
So you went back into work after 2020 is what you're saying. So you went like full time and then went back to work and then full time. So
So you did it twice times.
Yep.
So right off the bat, is that just something because you want to do it all? Because I totally relate to that, if so.
Yes, it's both. I was in a really weird mental space, and I wanted mental health community, and I wanted friends, and then I also wanted to do it all because I felt like gaming and streaming was a big part of me and a big part of who I was. And then I have this like whole corporate girly work thing over here, and I didn't have a cool way to merge it, and I just decided, you know what, fine, I won't. I'll just do both all the time. Yeah. It'll be a thing.
Sense.
That's good. That's cool.
And 2015 is a long time ago too.
I feel like I started streaming in 2016, 17. I don't know. Like I dabbled, like I dipped my toes into Twitch. And those days where I was like doing it from like a laptop, like a bullshit laptop and my PlayStation 3, streaming like Neo and the first Horizon Zero Dawn and stuff. Or there was PlayStation 4, I'm sorry. But like that's me I dipped my toes in it, and I kind of like went not full send but half send in 2017/18, 19, and then fast forward to the day, I'm like, why am I doing this anymore?
So I'm like a little baby compared to you guys. I was a little quarantine baby.
You're a quarantine streamer?
Yeah, I didn't start.
I loved the surge. I know people hated it, but I loved the surge of quarantine streamers. I thought it was great.
And honestly, mine wasn't because of like seeing streamers and wanting to do it. I just saw it on my PlayStation while I was hanging with my friends, and I was playing. I don't do as much like first-person shooting these days, but I started out with Warzone. Was my just with my friends. Yeah. I was just hanging out with friends, drinking, playing Warzone. Yeah.
That's why I got to fight you.
Like maybe someone will think we're funny.
I was like, Matt's like, I don't play first-person shooter. I was like, okay.
No, I do. Just like during the holidays. Like I just don't play anything offline.
Wait, hold on.
I would like come on someone's stream to play, or I would play like during the holidays with the community, but that's about it.
You don't play offline ever?
Not really. I mean, sometimes if I have like a friend who wants to come over and play games, because obviously I have games, then I'll do that, but that's like rare.
So I made a joke. She doesn't play with herself at all. I mean, wait, she likes playing with herself more than people.
Listen, I don't have time to play offline. My community.
But wait.
Okay, here's the thing. So Taylor didn't believe me, and then he came into my stream, and I told him I was like, community, chat, I played this game with you or without you the other day, but only because I was recording B-roll. I only did like 5 minutes without you. I promise you didn't miss anything. And they got so upset. And they were like, "You traitor! You're a traitor! How dare you!" And then Dayla came in, and I was like, "Chat, tell him what you just said to me." So
There's about to burn her at the stake like a witch. I was like, "What is happening?"
See, so I can't play offline.
You can.
I do very long streams, to be fair. So we play all sorts of stuff. I played Stardew with friends the other day. I think you have to
download Warzone now, and then we all have to play Warzone.
I'm down.
Well, I don't play Warzone. I'm an adult.
Wow.
I stopped playing Call of Duty since Advanced Warfare.
So Hannah invites you to a game, and you're just gonna be like, "No."
Wow.
Yes. Especially put like this. You do not want to see my competitive toxic side, and you guys will see that because once fucking
What do you mean? Yes, I do.
Once fucking Marvel Rivals drops and fucking Super Drive comes out, I'm full sending those games, and I'm gonna be like, I'll probably be banned every other week because like when I get competitive, I'm dropping the all word, I'm dropping fucks, I'm dropping pussy, I'm dropping.
You're dropping pussy.
Fucking bitch boy. I'm dropping all the words except the bad words, the bannable words.
Are you dropping it like it's hot?
I'm gonna drop that shit like it's hot. But circle back around. You mad said you don't play with people, but you were sitting here that you said you a freaking COVID baby streamer and you were playing with your friends. But when I try to get your ass to play
my first
Monster Hunter with me, you sit there and go, "Oh,
no, my first community building game was Phasmophobia. I've done a lot of community stuff. I just don't do it right now.
But I want you to play Monster Hunter with me.
Because
I want you to play Monster Hunter with me.
That's not on the docket right now.
But it doesn't come out till next year.
Well, then maybe next year.
So you gonna play Monster Hunter with me?
Maybe. My maybes are maybes. They're not no's and they're not yeses. They don't lead either way. They're just maybes.
You see what I do with Hannah? Like I try to like let's do something together as homies, as friends. We work together and stream. Like we have a good vibe.
Well, why don't we play Stardew together?
Ooh.
I hate my own life.
No, listen,
I have a fake life.
My friends and I have a thing for this because we all get one card a year that we get to play where it's like, you download this fucking game and we're playing it together. We're doing this. And it's like just once you get to be like, nope, you're all downloading Stardew Valley and we're playing this. Or nope, you're all downloading, Marvel Rivals and we're going. And you don't get to, you just have to be like, okay.
Okay, maybe we should adopt that. That might be perfect. Maybe we should force each other to play one game next year. You want to do that?
So Monster Hunter Wilds.
Monster Hunter's yours. I'll think about mine, but I think that's a great idea, Hannah.
Thank you for
you fixed us. You are a mental health professional already.
Mediating.
You fixed our relationship in video games. How could you? Like
counseling.
You saved our podcast because I was just like I can't do it with this person anymore.
He couldn't do it. He was like Monster Hunter, and I was like it's not part of the plan.
But okay, Hannah, have you played Monster Hunter?
No, I've heard about it though.
All right, so anyway, let's move on to the topic. So we brought Hannah today because there was a conversation that's been kind of being brought up on stream. It's the new boob stealing views pop conversation. It's the which is harder, working a 9-to-5 job or full-time content creation? And you have these big streamers who make fucking 6 figures by just waking up and breathing, saying this is much more harder than going to work every day for 9 to 5. This is extremely hard. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Blah blah. This conversation kind of like comes and goes and then comes back around again. But now it's starting to recycle itself. Like as I said, that boobs are stealing viewers. So Hannah, I reached out and said, anybody want to come and have this conversation? Because this is a very good conversation to have a talk with. And Hannah, just being that she just recently quit her 9-to-5. Well, she didn't quit. She left. She bowed out gracefully. She did her time and was like, fuck you guys. Quitting. I'm going to be a full-time streamer, get money, cash money, bad boys. So Hannah, you are someone who went full-time twice. This is your second time going twice? I'm right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so, I went full-time in 2015 until like the end of 2016. And then again now, currently, as of Friday, I'm full-time again.
So you kind of answered the first question, set of questions we have for you. So you've been streaming since 2015.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's over 10 years you've been streaming. Did I do math right?
No,
I didn't do math right.
Soon, it will be 10 years.
All right.
It's 2024. In 2025, yes.
That's awesome.
Okay.
10 years.
Oh, so I was off by a few numbers, right?
Yeah. You're right there.
You're good. I think you're good at math. I went to art school. I can't even talk. So. No math.
So what made you want to start streaming? Or what made you just say, hey, I'm doing this thing?
If we're being so honest, it was peer pressure. I had a friend. There was not a ton of like women that were streaming, by the way, at this time. I had a friend that was streaming, and she was like, "Hey, COD's great, and you can interact with like a ton of people if you stream this way, and just like hang out with us." And I started streaming because she started streaming, and then my entire group started streaming, and that was my OG gaming group. And it was like Black Ops, I don't know, 1, probably 2, something like that. And we just messed around and made that content, like group content, all day, every day for months. We were just that group of friends that just played COD together.
Did you guys have like what was your clan's name? I gotta know.
I don't think we even really ever had one.
You have to have a clan.
We really didn't. We just messed around.
Really?
Also, we had one kid who lived on a res like up in Canada who had like the worst internet connection ever, who like lagged through the map all the time and we could barely hear him. But Stewie, if you're out there, we love you. He still has terrible internet 10 plus years later. But that's how
Matt,
he played.
did you have a clan playing Call of Duty?
Not really.
See?
Like, I mean, I had
what
friends
is with
that
you
played.
Guys?
I just had friends
no
that played.
clans?
I mean, I think we like made one up for like a minute at one point, but it was nothing like official.
Yeah.
So the peer pressure is just pretty much just like, we're doing it, you should do it and stuff. And it was just like,
that's literally how my stream started. And I had like you mentioned earlier, I had like the worst setup ever. I had a TV stand and I couldn't put my legs like under it or down. It wasn't a desk. So I had like a folding chair where I had to sit with like my legs up on the folding chair and like pushed against the TV stand with like my monitor and my crappy like laptop over here. And I buffered probably every 5 minutes. It was truly just a scuffed stream experience for a long time until I figured out what I was doing. And then back then everyone was freaked out about like, you can't let people see your room. If that's like your real room and like your bed and everything, you can't let people see it. So then I got all scared and I was like, oh, I'm going to hang a blanket in the background. And then I hung a blanket that was the alma mater of the college that I went to and just graduated from. And then people were like, you can't do that. They're going to find you. And I was like, oh my God. Okay.
They're going to find you and get you. It's so crazy.
Who's that?
Yeah. This is probably still this is streamer Twitter circa 2015.
And it's still
That's
happening.
What that was.
It like small streamers Twitter
going.
never changes. It's so bad.
It's so funny like hearing like the struggles of early streaming back in the ages of like, because you got to remember when Twitch first happened, it was just on TV, and then when it became Twitch, it was still like fresh. So you still had like the OGs you see now, like Casey Tron and Shroud and all those guys, like they were just streaming on like bullshit. And like now for you to just jump into streaming, you could like $1,000, bam, whole setup.
Yeah.
Back in those days, you had to buy the capture card. Did we really have Elgato? You had to get whatever fuck ass capture cards you had to get. You didn't have all these lights and cameras. You had the bullshit Logitech big fat round webcam looking at you. Your lighting, you had to make sure the light was just right. And if it wasn't, you were sitting in the dark playing the game, and it's at the screen reflection.
Oh, I didn't even have a light when I first started.
Screens.
It was just I was straight from PlayStation, so I had my PlayStation cam, and I
oh
had
my
like
God.
a headphone
like my
mic.
light is the screen.
Yeah, headphone mic, PlayStation cam. That was it, and like the chat was on the screen. So because I was streaming from the PlayStation, so it was like on there with the game. That was it.
Yeah, you didn't have done the crazy graphics and stuff. So when people followed you, didn't know. It was none of that. It was the dark ages of streaming
it was like
back in those days.
High level, if you even had like a logo. Like if you even had anything on your overlays, you were like, this is a production quality.
Exactly.
Like we are up there.
Official TV show.
Yeah. I remember when I first got my Elgato capture card and I downloaded the program, and they gave you like all these little neat things, graphics. Like but you had to use it in the Elgato program to run it, and it was like you had the little graphics and all that stuff. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be a fucking great streamer. Then you come to find out these motherfuckers pay thousands of dollars to artists to make all that shit for them. And I'm like, I don't have that kind of money, but I'll make it one day. And yeah, so are you guys streaming today? Are you like COVID baby streamers. Matt, I'm looking at you, but you struggled. But everybody streaming now, you guys got it fucking made because you don't have to pay a cent because everything is fucking free for you guys. Everybody's just doing everything easy for you guys. It's like you can just turn it on and go. Back in the days, we had to fucking.
To be fair, you can look at it the other way. It's very overwhelming when you start now versus the expectations were a lot lower when you started. So I mean, you can look at it both ways.
Yeah, like my content back then was dog shit. I'll say that out loud. Absolute trash. Dog water, terrible quality, buffering. I think the biggest thing I splurged on, and this was like right when Blue Yeti just dropped. So it was like a Blue Yeti mic.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. This is
like
while.
the mecca. Like this is the pinnacle of like microphone success right here. And I was so excited to get it. And then like, obviously it didn't make like a huge impact in my stream because not a ton of people understand any of this in the first place. But then it didn't like do the thing I thought it would do to boost views, and I was like, that's when I got out of that entire mindset of like, oh, I have to have like this crazy professional setup to like do anything. No, I was done after that. I was like, I spent $80. I spent $80 on this thing, and I'm like a poor college student, and it didn't do the thing that I needed it to do, and yeah. I was over it after that.
That's really small streamer Twitter, though. It's like this didn't boost my views when I bought this microphone. I'm dying over that.
My views are gonna be so high. I got the fucking latest mic, the best headphones. I got HyperX.
Yep.
And I think you've tried to reach them like I have. I feel like I've seen you kind of in that space before, like, hey, that's not how it works. You know, like just trying to correct and trying to like reach out. Because it's not like we're like some kind of big fancy streamers. It's just you've been in it for a long time and I've been in it long enough now where it's like, hey, by the way, none of that matters. They just don't listen. It's just like a constant...
That's always my starter advice. Like people always ask that and I'm like, just start. Like, it doesn't matter what overlays you have, whatever branding package you think you need, the $5,000 PC isn't going to do the thing. Like, you still have to have entertainment value and education value.
The perfect example I use of, like, big streamers who, like, do the bare minimum is Tyler One. Tyler One doesn't have a big setup. He uses the same fucking headset that he gets for free. He has the same basic Streamlabs or Stream Elements alerts. He has nothing special. It's the same. Like when I say bare minimum, this guy uses bare minimum, but he's one of the top streamers known. Yep. And where do you think all his money goes? To his house, to his family right now. It's like,
well, there's like a million
basic setup.
I feel like people don't realize, especially in the small space, that like there's a million different like levers you can pull, you know, and tech is just one of them. And so, yeah, if you do good tech, like you're already above people who don't have good tech, but you should pull the other levers too, because tech isn't going to get you there. That's not how that works. You know?
Yeah. So do you have any favorite games right now, Hannah? Like, is it like a favorite game that you have that's like, this is my game, and like no matter what happens, like this game is it, and like why is that game like your?
Yeah, I have two because I do play offline. I play offline a lot.
Damn.
But I have two. I have like games that I keep to myself that I won't stream that I think are like deeply personal to me that I just like to chill on, that are like my safe little space that nobody can touch with me. And right now that is Tiny Glade. It's like a little sim builder where you're just like making like, I don't know, like houses, castles or whatever. You're making a glade. You're making a cute little like area. It's a little cozy game, adorable. And then Overwatch, I would say, is like my comfort shooter. That's like the one I stream, my like comfort game that I can like, no matter who's in chat or what mental state I'm in, I feel comfortable on Overwatch. I can like stream confidently and feel good and just vibe that way. But yeah. Uncommon answer on Overwatch, I know. Sorry.
Overwatch is very toxic. So I don't know how that's a comfort game for you.
Are you on like comms when you're doing it cozy? Like,
yeah.
Wow.
I think because I grew up on COD. I'm a day one COD player, by the way. I started playing when I was 11. That's not great.
So Modern Warfare 2?
OG COD 1.
Are you like?
I started on COD 1.
Is your like part of your brand being very skilled at it, or are you more on the entertaining side, or are you both?
So, a mix of both. I think I'm a good COD player. I'm a little above average, but I'm not like out of my fucking mind. I'm not crazy. But I have played long enough to like know what I'm doing and navigate that. But I think for COD, it was like, I grew up that way. So shooters were automatically like, my brain worked that way. I understood those games. BRs came out, it was a whole thing. I was like, yeah, I got it. Understood, clicked immediately. Just a very easy thing for me to grasp. So that's what I streamed the most. But growing up on COD, you get hardened to a lot of those comms pretty immediately and often. And so Overwatch was nothing by the time I got there. Valorant was nothing by the time I got there. So it was, I don't know, that helped.
I just think first-person shooters, no matter what, I just say people say that there is always going to be there's I'm trying to collect my words. People like to say that like first person shooters and stuff, there's gonna be toxic people. I said no. Any game that has a rank mode are gonna have toxic people. Because once you get into rank, it's like I'm trying to win and rank up. I'm not trying to have fun. I'm not trying to enjoy myself. I'm trying to win. I have a competitive aspect. And like I remember when Ninja came out and it was like, oh, just have fun, that competitive stuff. Like, shut up. That right there is telling people don't try.
Games are more fun when I win, so.
I say the same thing. The game is only fun when I'm fucking winning. If I'm losing, it's not fun. Who likes to lose?
There's an organic competitive edge to a lot of games.
I like the learning process personally, but
raise your hand if you like to lose.
I do like the learning process of losing.
Get out of here.
Because I do like the learning process.
I do. I'm a nerd. It's what I like. All right, listen.
You learn from your losses. No, you know what you learn? You suck.
I experiment.
You learn that you suck from your losses. That's every time I lose, I'm like, I fucking suck. I'm stupid. I'm a Souls player. When I die, I sit there and go, I fucking suck. I'm an idiot.
That's a different mindset. There's people like, I played Elden Ring. I wanted to, that was awful for me. I was like, no, I'm good. If I can't W key my way through it, eventually I'm out.
So you like to lean into stuff you're really good at. You like to, you're like, I have a natural ability for this. I'm leaning in.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. But like with Elden Ring and stuff, like, or if you were to die in Elden Ring or something, and maybe you have like a specific play style you're doing, you could learn that play style, or you could try a different one, and so then you've like learned something, and then maybe you can master each of those. I like the mastery part.
Yeah. I think that's valid. I think that's like a different way of competing, like camo grinding in COD, right? Like you don't give a shit what other people's skills are, but if you're trying to unlock camos first, like that's its own competitive area as well.
Exactly.
Or I think of games like Rust, where it's like there's no competition necessarily, but like screwing people over in game is part of the game, and so then people just like lose it and go off on that.
And the winning is so much sweeter when you failed a few times, like if you just get something right off the bat,
of
like
course.
that's, so the failing is fun.
True. Yeah.
I don't know. So this time I do see what you're saying, because like when I jumped to the Black Myth Wukong, I was like, I'm a fucking Souls player. I know what the fuck I'm doing. Then I died. I was like, this fucking game is hard. Then when I beat the boss after like 20 times, I'm like, first fucking try. I'm the best player ever there is. Nobody can fuck with me. Everybody sucks. I'm the greatest. But it's like, I don't know. I think like everybody, even people who like to claim they don't have it, everybody has like a little bit of ego and like little bit of a fucking I'm the best.
Yeah.
Anybody who sits there and says, oh no, I don't have an ego, I just play for fun, and like shut up. You are playing for something. You have there's an ego there. It's just that you hide it very well.
Oh no, if someone really wants to play an ego game with me and they want to like bump egos and they're like ready and they're coming at me all pretentious, they'll bring out an old mad that I try to push down, because I grew up in finance. Come on, or at least my early 20s was in grad school, corporate finance. Before that, I was straight A student, doing every extracurricular possible. Like I grew up in, over excelling. If people want to play like a pretentious, ego game, I can bring her back, but she's pushed down now.
No, I want to see that. I want to see the mad. I want to see the real mad. I want to see mad.
She's so toxic, dude. She was,
that's good.
That was the mad I had when I first started streaming, but she's not a fun mad. She's, kind of mean.
That's fun. That's I like that. I want to see that. I like
it, man.
Yeah, I like people's raw anger at times. Do you have any? So you pretty much told us like are you like a variety streamer, or you just stick with first person shooters? So
yeah, technically I say I'm like variety FPS because I play a lot of different shooters, but then every once in a while my community bullies me into playing a horror game or like a cozy game on stream, so I just kind of throw those in there whenever. It's pretty random, so I guess that makes me variety. Whatever. Okay, so whatever people want to label me, that's fine.
I mean, nowadays with streaming, you gotta fall into some label. Are you a first-person shooter? Are you a sports? Are you variety? Are you a booby streamer?
I'm tired. Is what I am.
Tired.
I'm
tired. Yeah.
Yep. That's the label I want. I'm tired.
So.
Yep.
So with today's topic, which is harder than 9 to 5, and you said that you already explained to us like the first time why you were full-time streamer the first time. So you kind of explain that to us. Like, it's 2015, you just got bullied into it.
Yep.
And you went full send.
Yep.
Now you decide to go full send again. What was the reason for that? What was the reason for you to go say, fuck this job, I'm out, I'm going full send?
Yeah, so at this point, I have been in my career for 12 years. I have watched myself peak and kind of just like level off in that. I'm very proud of the work I did. I'm very proud of like who I was in that job. I was a senior UX designer. I worked in sports, in TV, and in gaming. I got to touch every industry I wanted to touch. I got to release a lot of really cool things. But at the end of the day, I'm just sick of corporate bullshit, if we're being so honest. I burnt out heavy on corporate structures and policies and red tape and everybody all the time, ladder climbing, blah, blah, blah. There's just so much crap involved in all of it. So I started saving money over a random chunk of time and was like, I'm just going to give myself, 6 months to save money. And then I'm just going to full send it and see where I can really go with streaming. Because honestly, I've gotten pretty far part-time or like 10 hours or less a week. And I fully think that my move is based in like, I want to prove to myself that I can be the level of successful that I want to be in streaming. And that's not everybody's level of success. And I also want to like create a firm like community that is not going to crumble if I ever stepped away from streaming. I want them to still exist and I want them to still have each other. And I want all of that to like supersede anything that I put out into the world.
So, yeah. So completely get the corporate. Like completely. Yeah. That's exactly why I left. I love the work. I hate all the bullshit around it. So I'm with you. So you're getting to create something that's yours. And like you said, that can supersede. So you have like this goal of just, this isn't just about like doing it as work. You want to have something that like exists outside of you.
Yeah, 100%. I think from the very beginning, I've always said I wanted mental health transparency and community. I did want people to just hop in for the love of gaming. I wanted like no platform wars, no like, oh, you can't play this game, this is bullshit, blah, blah, blah. No, like gaming is gaming. If you play a game, you're a gamer. That's the community that I wanted around me. And I wanted that mental health aspect. And I wanted to keep going from there and grow that. So
you said that, you were doing well. Like, when you started, like you had times where it was like a fluctuation.
Yep.
So I'm not asking you for your numbers and like saying like, oh, you're making like $6,000 a day and stuff, but like, do you feel like now that with this going full send again, do you feel like before you went the full time send the second time, when you were just like kind of like dabbling and like you did like probably like a street subathon or something, were you making adequate enough money to say I can survive off of this?
Back then or now?
Now,
not 100%. I wouldn't say it's like a full, like if I didn't have the padding I have to make this jump, I would be scared shitless. I would freak out probably. If you want numbers, I can give numbers. I'm fine with that transparency.
No, we don't need people to know your pockets. Never let people know how much money is in your pockets.
And
right?
I think that's a great myth
like
bust.
Money transparency, but
yeah, I think that's a great myth bust because a lot of people think you have to have like 2,000, 5,000, however much like subs, a month for sure to be able to do it. And it's like, I think it's a lot more complex than that. I did the same thing as you where I went off of savings and mine are starting to dwindle. So I'm like, okay, I might need to pick up like a part-time or something for a little while or a temporary and then but my goal is, a much more long-term thing. So that's not a big deal. So I'm kind of with you on like having the padding and a lot of people don't see that because they're like, well, I could never quit unless I had this amount. And they're not thinking like the full scale big picture. Like, what are you trying to build? What are you doing with it? They just want streaming to pay their bills. And I think what you just said is a perfect myth bust for like, not necessarily. It depends on what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And it is a stair step. Like, I think people forget that, right? Like, I've only had 10 hours to put into this for the last however many years, but now I have 40 or more. And I have all the ability in the world to like only go up from here. So theoretically, I shouldn't be, sitting focusing on like the money that I'm losing every day. I should be building on top of that. And it is like, the more I do that, the more success I'll have, the more content I can make. But it's not, the money is scary, yeah. But at some point, I think I just was like, you know what, I have to jump. Like, I just have to.
And
like,
any business is like investing, right? So like, I mean, a lot of businesses, they'll get loans and then they'll start it up. And of course, this is not one of those that has enough guarantee for that. But like, that's what you're doing is just investing in your own business at this point. And I'm glad you're saying that, because a lot of people don't realize that that's an option, you know, if they really want to just see what they're made of and try to run their own thing and just have a little fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part too. And I got a lot of questions when I made that post. A lot of them revolved around like, you know, you're not partnered on any platform. Like, what are you doing? Or, you know, how do you have the money for this? Like, you don't seem to have the numbers to back that. And I fully like get that and respect it, because I'm not like the biggest streamer in the world. I think I average like 37. I'm not like, you know, I have crazy over the top anything. But I have decent numbers on what I've built, and I have a really high engagement rate and a really engaged community. And I think that helps me understand and back that too. But I've also never had to prove a platform, you know, partnership or anything to get a brand deal or to get paid in this industry. I've never had anybody freak out over that. And I think that also just speaks to like a lot of the perception that you don't have to be partnered to get deals. You don't have to be partnered to do UGC. You don't have to, you know, have this high status to engage in those things. You can still do that as a smaller creator.
I've seen you post a lot about that, actually. Like, do you have advice for anyone trying to do that? Because I've not done nearly as much as I should, to be honest, in the space of UGC and just getting sponsors and all of that. Like, it sounds like you've got that really down for someone who's not, you know, like you said, partnered in huge numbers.
Yeah. I love it. My same advice, just start. I have 2 templates that I run. They're kind of like email templates in a way that are more on the formal side for me, at least. People run their businesses differently, but one template for, hey, I would love to do product reviews or any level of like UGC content if you have it. I don't put my face in that content. I just purely film that for the brand or whatever I'm doing in that moment. So I have like a little studio set up here where I can do photography or videography on it. But I cold message certain brands or anybody that I really want to work with and just see what they say. And then on the other side, I have like specific like partnership and brand deal email template type of thing that's a little bit more in depth and more like I want a consistent collaboration over a span of time. And I cold reach out to those things. And every brand that I've ever wanted to work with, I have tweeted at or engaged with heavily at some point. Brands look at that. So like make sure if you want to work with a brand in the future that you have a long established, you can prove that you've engaged with them over a long span of time, because they'll look it up. So do that.
Interesting. So how did you build the template for yourself? Did you find that somewhere, or did you just kind of like it built over time and you just like tried and then learned kind of what worked?
Yeah. So again, this is where like corporate crossover. I have done a lot of contract negotiating in like my corporate job. And so with that, I kind of used those like templates that I had worked up over time of like having to do contract negotiations and how those typically run, and just sort of pivoted it and put it in gaming and kind of spun it for that, and made myself the product in a way. So yeah, it just kind of merged. That was a perfect example of like how my skills in both areas just happened to work out well. But Social Blue Book and Streamer Square are 2 resources that do a lot of that type of stuff too, that can give you a lot of different tools to reach out to brands, brand kits, and how to like pitch yourself well and actually find the right amount of money to like go at these brands with and like pitch yourself in a way that's different. If you want some of those, or I can just give you guys my templates and you can post them with
honestly, I would love your templates if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, it'd be great help. So with that being said, do you think like with how streaming is right now and like how a lot of people, as Matt said, have a porn brain now, everybody's like porn ridden with everything, like everything is hypersexualized now. Do you find it easier for females to make it as streamers, and do you find yourself being sexualized by men? Because, you know, if like going into stream, like sometimes like the top things you see is like a girl and sitting in her underwear playing a video game, or like just a girl sitting in a pool writing names on her boobs. Do you find it like it's easier for females to make it in streaming, and like then they have to sexualize themselves, or they're being sexualized in a way? Like, has that happened to you? Like, you know?
So I think very nuanced question, but I think that women in gaming in general, I would be crazy if I didn't acknowledge the fact that being a woman in gaming can just automatically draw a different amount of attention, different people into your stream, and it can be a competitive edge, if you want to call it that, an edge, if you will. But I don't think it's significant. I don't think it's longevity, and I don't think it is worthwhile most of the time. Different content is different content. If women want to make any type of sexually leaning content, that's their thing, and I fully support them in that. But it's also never the people that I would get in my streams, because I'm a FPS variety streamer, right? It's a totally different content vertical, content set. Those people aren't going to fucking merge into mine magically and just like become a fan of mine if they're a fan of theirs. It's just a completely different realm. But I do think women just pull in organically a different audience. But again, they're not staying forever. Once they realize that you're not going to flirt back, or you're not going to engage them, or maybe you're not like saying the things that they like to hear, they're gone. So there's just like a fleeting quick view. And I think we would see the effects of that if it was easier for women in gaming. The top 100 streamers would all be women, but they're not. There's like 2. So
that is the most perfect answer I've ever heard on that.
Yeah. So it's like I've thought about this a lot. It's like it's just different content. Like you can't even compare some of it. You know what I mean? It's like I'm never going to personally move into that realm. But you know, if people sway between them, fine. But I do get men coming in almost on the opposite side, where like I don't show a ton of skin. I stream in like hoodies and beanies. I'm not fucking like, none of that is happening. But they'll still come in and be like, "Why are you covered up? Why are you doing that? Don't do that. Like, show something." But like, they're pissed if you're not showing skin. They're pissed if you are showing skin. They're pissed if you show. Like, I had one guy, my bra strap was out one time, and some guy was like, "You're fucking hard for that." And I was like, "Oh my god, my bra strap, heathens, like so bad."
How
like,
dare you?
Yeah, it's just stupid either direction. And I've gotten every type of comment across the board of like, "Oh my god, you're just a titty streamer." And I'm like, I dare you to find cleavage one time on any of my content. It's not there because I don't do it. And you'll also get the people that are like, "Take off your sweatshirt." Like, I can't believe you do this. This is stupid. You should show your skin. That's all you're good for. Like, fuck them.
I find it funny. Oh, go ahead, man. Go.
I was gonna say, the way you said "can be," like at the very beginning of that, is perfect, because it can be an advantage if you want to play. It's like the same thing with the levers earlier. It's one that you can pull as a woman that men don't have as easily a lot of times,
I don't blame
right?
you for doing it.
So they can pull that lever, but for those who aren't pulling that lever, that advantage is just gone. And if anything, it might work against you, because you'll have the people come in that want that, and you won't have dudes come in that just want to hang with dudes. So you've lost that lever. That's the one that dudes have. It's like, I'm a dude playing games. Let's hang. We don't have that. Yeah. We are automatically seen as something else, you know?
Yeah, you're seen as potential mates. Mm-hmm. You play video games, I play video games. You must like me.
Yep.
Let me carry you.
Dude, don't even get me started on the carries. Just because, dude, I blame men. Because, guys, talking from another guy, some of you guys are fucking idiots. Because you guys see a pretty face, and you see she's playing the game that you play in a rank, and you're like, I can carry you. And you sit there and carry her to fucking diamond, and next thing you know, you're just sitting there hoping that she fucking gives you the time of day when she's not.
Well, and it happens in solo games too, not just like multiplayer. I get it where, you know, people come in backseat, and I'm like, this is my first time playing the game. I'm not dumb. I'm just figuring out a new game.
Exactly.
Shut up.
Yeah. Or they'll come in and I'll be playing a game for like the 10th time, and it's like, no, I know what I'm doing. Leave me alone.
I also, just a warning, like I used to troll those people. I used to pretend sometimes on my stream, COD, that I was like, oh my god, like what's this gun do? And people would take that bait all the time and come play with me, and then I'm lobby leader in search and destroy with 20 kills, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, quit asking people to like just carry them when you have no clue who they are, or just like sit at the bottom of my leaderboard and I'll carry you for the rest of the time.
Got him.
It's funny that you say, because you know, as a first person shooter streamer, especially like playing COD and stuff, there has been like, you know, I have seen girls who are like, they play Call of Duty, but then after Call of Duty they have like provocative photos of themselves and stuff. So it's like you're drawing in both sides of the spectrum, because you're gonna have guys say, oh, she plays COD, she's good and she's hot and stuff. So I can see what she looks like in a bikini and stuff.
Listen, I know people like don't love that stuff, but my stance has always been if
whatever
people
works
are going to sexualize you anyway, make money off of it.
Exactly.
They're going to treat you that way anyway, monetize it.
I've always said, like, you know, I said this to Matt and other podcasts too, is like, you don't have to worry about, you know, people say like, oh, they're sexualizing video game characters. Like, no, somebody's going to sexualize a video game character no matter what. There's going to be a cosplayer or somebody that sees a video game character like, I can make this sexy. and sexualize the shit out of it and make
Porn brain.
billions of dollars off of it.
That's where porn brain comes in. Yeah.
Look at Velma from fucking Scooby-Doo. We knew she was hot. Velma was like, oh, she's hiding something under there. We used our minds.
Something under there.
Cosplayers
it's crazy, dude. That's
gave
crazy.
us everything we needed.
Insane.
Have you ever seen a sexy moth? Have you guys ever seen a sexy moth?
No.
I have, because I followed Jessica Negri. She made a sexy moth.
Love her.
Have you ever seen sexy Pokemon?
No.
I have, because I follow cosplayers. No matter what, there's going to be people that, as you said, if you make money. Don't blame these women. Blame yourself, because you're too horny and you just can't sit there and go, this is a fucking Pokemon. You got to go, I wonder how this Pokemon will look with boobs or a penis.
Yeah, I've never seen a post on Twitter regarding that topic that came from a woman where a man is like posting, you know, like enhanced breasts on an image and he's like, there, fix this character for them.
Yes.
I've never one time watched an anime, played a video game, watched something and been like, wow, I think this dude's dick needs to be bigger. I'm gonna go on Twitter and fix it for him.
Put him in gray
post
sweatpants,
it.
make
That's
it
just
bigger,
such a
make
weird...
it seen.
Enhanced.
Yeah, like what the fuck? It's such a weird behavior.
No,
It is
sorry.
weird. It's weird. Listen, it's one thing to make like sex jokes. I do that all the time. It's just because we're all human and we make jokes. But like to need to objectify everything that you see visually because you have a porn brain is like, you know.
Listen, I don't agree with that, because I literally sat here and had a whole conversation with Mad about Bad Dragon, and you women are just as perverted
Not me.
as men.
I'm telling you, I do sex jokes. I don't
Okay,
do
we
all
know
of
that.
this.
I get that. But with how Hannah was like, oh, you know, nobody enhances guys' cocks and stuff.
Feel the
No,
need to
because
fix it.
there's women out there that's like, that's a hot werewolf. I wonder what his dick will look like. And they fucking buy a dildo
That's
for
fair.
werewolf
But we still don't
penis.
see it as much. That's the thing. It's like they're not.
You don't see it as much.
No,
I
because,
am in the worst part of Twitter. That's
I
why.
think so. Honestly, I think you are.
yeah. But
It's not
that's the thing.
fun.
It doesn't make it to the mainstream as heavily as the dudes
Yes,
making
you're right,
boobs.
you're right,
And I
you're
don't
right.
know if that's just because of volume or like loudness or what.
I remember I forgot what a Japanese artist who makes like a manga, anime, a video game. He said he makes his characters sexy because he likes to see the women dress up as them. He just flat out said it. I was like, he likes to make them sexy because he likes seeing women dressed as them.
I guess a man that knows
I
what he
mean-
wants.
Look at the guy who made Dead or Alive. Have you ever seen the guy who makes Dead or Alive?
Mm-mm.
He's like a Japanese guy. He wears his shades and everything. He looks like a punk rocker, long black hair and stuff. And he made the game Dead or Alive because it was like hot women and everything and fighting, and they're deadly. Then he was like, we're gonna make a jiggle effect for the boobs.
I've read studies about like what the motivations behind playing games are and what gamers are looking for. And one of them that they found, and it's not mentioned in a lot of them, it's like one of the subcategories, is technically arousal. That is one of them that they've identified. Yes. It is because people do, because we're seeing it right now. We're hearing it.
Also on graphics and competitive arousal. Like they only get aroused by being hyper competitive.
Yeah, it's a real thing. So it's there, but
Crazy.
it's one specific. I'll go back to the lever analogy. It's one specific lever, right? And so it's like people who are just focused on that and they don't care about anything else in gaming. I'm like, you know that there are better places to pull that lever, right? It doesn't have to be gaming.
But I get the, you know, it is too. I think some people are a little twisted in their heads. Like, I get to control this person and their actions and movements.
Yeah, I can see that.
As some people like to have control. Some people are very dominant. Some people are very submissive. I just think there's a big freaking spectrum of men and women who like to have full control. Oh, I have control of this very sexy woman or sexy guy, and I get to make him bend and pose, and I can make him fuck whoever I want to fuck, or her fuck whoever I want to fuck. Is it weird? Yes. Am I going to yuck your yum? No, because whatever gets you off, gets you off. But you just have to sit there and look at yourself and say, something might be wrong with you.
I mean, from a non-sexual perspective, that's what all creators are doing, is like controlling something, right? They're creating and controlling it. But when you add sex into the mix, it's also like, okay, maybe we should like maybe just look in the mirror for
Let's
like 2
bring
seconds.
it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
From a mental health perspective, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but
I have so many. It's too long.
So Hannah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this is where we get into like the main thing. What specifically is harder about a 9 to 5 than streaming? What do you see that's specifically harder from 9 to 5 than
Yeah.
streaming?
Yeah, so reminder, I came from like typical corporate, probably like the most corporate level of like when people think of 9 to 5, I'm sitting at a desk literally from 9 to 5 at a location.
Yes.
So that was my job. I will die on the hill that corporate politics / like people management level of everything is like one of the hardest aspects. Not only are you have like multiple layers of bosses, probably, 3 or 4 people coming down on you from the top, and then you have people underneath you, or at least at my level I did, that you also have to manage, and they are constant in their criticism and needs and wants and all of those career development things too. So you're getting slammed from both sides with communication 24/7. People will talk about, like work-life balance. That didn't exist in my world. You are on call 24/7 at all times through Slack or email or phone call or text or whatever. There are no boundaries. It's pretty like all over the place all the time in terms of like who has access to you. So you could have like a random other part of the company come up and be like, oh, hey, here's all this work. And you're like, okay, cool. So it's really truly like the age-old, like I have too many bosses to function. There's too many people coming down on me. This is ridiculous. And that's something that doesn't, like, you are your own boss here. Doesn't really happen that much in streaming unless you have an org or like an overhead that you are working with. But yeah, I would say the people is the biggest part. And then obviously like your schedule is pretty locked in. You sign a contract to work at X location for, 8 to 9 hours a day, and on any weekends or holidays that they need you there, and you're salaried and you can't really break that. So if you just stop showing up, you just get fired. There is no like leniency a ton in that. My company ran the whole you have unlimited PTO thing, but like if you tried to take it, they were like, no, that's not how that works. So it's just that. It's a lot of like ladder climbing bullshit, a lot of political bullshit, a lot of like random arbitrary rules that you have to follow for no reason. We even had, I worked for Charter Spectrum for a while. I'm not under NDA anymore, so I can talk about this. But I used to have to go into a super corporate office, and we could wear like whatever the hell we wanted on most days. But if the CEO was in the office, women had to wear skirts and pantyhose. That was like a literal requirement still in I think back in the day, it was like probably 2018, 2019.
I've
which
never
was absurd,
seen
right?
that.
Yeah, absurd. So like stuff like that, where you're just like, this is the most arbitrary, ridiculous shit. Why?
I've never ever seen that. I've been in so many like corporations at this point. That's crazy. I'm like mind blown.
Just when the CEO was there. So like there's that. There's like other just that stuff too. And honestly, like I have a pretty big ethical and moral issue with some corporate structures, because I just think that some of the shit they pull is just atrocious. And there's some things that I just like, you can't really step away from it very easily, and you kind of have to just like keep your head down and not be a target in some things. But like there was things that in my career that I just like didn't want any part of, especially in like TV and gaming, that I was just like, guys, like this is so ridiculous. So yeah, you don't really have a ton of that pressure in gaming, but now I think in a different way with Twitter, you might.
No,
I feel like, when you said that you don't have like people coming to you from both sides when it comes to streaming and stuff. So
no, not like that at least.
Yeah, but when compared to streaming and like the corporate world, we're using the corporate world for example because like that's the field you're in. So what I would say with that, when you think about with streaming, you do have people under you, right?
Yeah.
You have a community. You have to manage a bunch of community people. You have to manage a bunch of people who are just like, I have no fucking communication skills. I don't know.
Yep.
I'm gonna say the most random shit to you, and you either take it or leave it. Because I am the person you must entertain. You gotta impress me.
Yep.
So I feel like when streaming, you have the 30 seconds or the 60-second elevator pitch to make me want to stay in your stream.
Yep.
Then you have to manage me because you don't know the type of person I'm. You're managing a whole bunch of different personalities. When you go in the corporate world, you know the type of personality you may get because you could read somebody off the rip. It's like that guy's an asshole. She's the office kind of mom. She's the office tyrant. He's the fucking dickhead. And this guy, he just comes late and nobody really knows.
Yeah.
So it's good to have like some of those skills from a 9 to 5 to take over the stream, because some people just never ever worked in a work environment ever.
Yep.
So to deal with people, they're like, I don't know what I'm doing, do what you want. And to have somebody come and say, hey, you should really check this person. They're like, no. Also with streaming, you are being watched. You do
Constantly.
as much as streamers say, "Oh, I don't have a boss. I'm my own boss." You kind of do have a boss. You have an overseer. It's called Dan Clancy and the rest of his enforcers. I'm serious. It's like because if you step out of line the wrong way, instant ban. You're done.
Yeah,
Or if you're a golden child.
And then if you're
I
trying
think
to
it's
do more
always
than streaming too, like,
Yeah.
because I know you do really well at Twitter. I don't know if you do any of the other platforms heavily, but like you are really good at Twitter. You're one of the few people I like. I'm like constantly every tweet, good stuff, right?
You talking about me or Hannah?
Hannah,
Oh.
not you. And so
I
like
think
there goes my
balancing all of
feelings.
those things is kind of similar to balancing a boss, because like let's say you want to get a YouTube video out or a short form out and you're trying to stream and you're trying to balance all of those priorities at once. It's a similar mindset where you get kind of stressed because you're like, I want to do it all.
Yeah, I think the way that I've like talked myself around this in a way, I've compartmentalized it in a weird way, but like I think the motivators for that and like how you go about those problems are like very external on like the corporate side, where like you might be responsible for X mistakes or budget or whatever, and people are coming down on you for that, and that's like your mistake and your thing to handle. But you're getting screamed at by a bunch of people that need you to handle it. Whereas streaming is like, it's intrinsic. Like you decide if you handle that, how you handle that, when you handle that, if you have to at all, like what the outcomes might be. Like it's fully on you in a like hyper personal way, and you can't like outsource it to a company. You are the company. So it's a very like, for me, it was a different mindset shift when I was like, I'm corporate speak over here, but I'm like using those skills in order to like, yes, manage in a way my chat or my community. But that is like much less of a mental load to me than like trying to please millions of dollars and like shit over here and like a board of people.
Well, you're trying to I mean, when you're streaming, you're trying to please or appease like majority of people, because like, as much as streamers don't want to admit, you are relying on the dollars and the support of those people who are watching you. So you do have to appease them that type of way. Now, it's not going to be the same appeasal as, with the corporate management, like, make sure the work is done in time. But again, you got to be entertaining for X amount of hours. Like you must make these people like lock in on your content and want to say, I'm going to give my $5 to you. Because you know why? I like the cut of your jib. But in a corporate management is like, show up, do your damn job, and I'm gonna pay you your check.
And that.
So, go ahead.
I was gonna say that was like another big one for me, was just feedback in general. Is so like in corporate structures, you're getting feedback 24/7. You're getting constant like either formal reviews or half reviews, or hey, I need you to fix this or do this in a meeting. Hey, you need to like. My thing was always smile more. I was like such a bitch in corporate environments. People would always be like, you need to like be lighter when you present sometimes, and I'm like, okay. Anyway, like stuff like that, where it's like that stuff is constant, but like feedback in streaming is kind of rare. Like authentic, genuine, constructive feedback, like feedback that can genuinely push you and make you a better creator. You really aren't getting that from chat, and you're really not getting that from like your surface level connections in this space. You really only get that when you truly, truly either ask for it from like a creator that you greatly respect and they engage, or you're like with your friends just begging them for like any feedback on your content. So that was a big one for me, is like I have to have a high amount of intrinsic value and intrinsic motivation to do this, because I'm not going to get a shit ton of like external feedback and being like, hey, like here's what I think about your content. And if I do in streaming, it's going to be a shit ton of like trolls and negative stuff too. And so you're kind of like lost in the balance, where like corporate, I feel like you can kind of get a grasp on your feedback and like figure out where you need to go. Streaming is just a fucking shit show, a barrage of just like positive, negative, like crazy, like outlandish things. And you're just like, oh, I don't really know where I stand sometimes, and that's a little weird. And I don't really know how to navigate that, and that's a little weird. And I'm not sure if I should take this person's advice. I don't really know. And you just kind of get stuck in that feedback loop for a while. And I think that's when people start second guessing, like, should I be a creator? Am I even like, should I keep going? Should I look at my metrics? Do I even keep anything on? Like that whole mental spiral is partially driven by that.
But you should at least have, like, you should at least know that's going to come as a content creator, because in every aspect of life, you're constantly being criticized and judged by.
But I think there's a huge difference that she called out that I think is really important for anyone who maybe is trying to go full time or just wants to get more into streaming and content, is that like when you're in a workplace, people have a motivation for giving you feedback in that either they're trying to get ahead or they're trying to get you ahead because that will also get them ahead, something like that. And so they have more investment in you as a person and an employee growing than in this industry where people will legitimately come in and just tear you down for fun. That's not going to happen as much in the workplace. Like people might occasionally, but usually it's something for them to try to get ahead because it's also their workplace. Here, it's you just get a lot of people who want to, you know, get something out of it. Like they just want to feel better about themselves. So they're trying to get some kind of superiority. So they're tearing you down for fun. And so you'll get a lot of this negativity that isn't as constructive as in a workplace where even if they're wrong, it's coming from a place of trying to be constructive for the company as a whole in a way, you know what I mean? And so I could see where even if you're prepared for it, it's hard to disengage from the corporate mentality of like, hey, feedback is good. I should listen to this. And then just seeing people like shit on you all the time. That's a hard thing, I think, to shift.
Or I used to like...
What I was trying to get at is like pretty much saying like, you know, you gotta be able to take criticism and feedback and separate what is someone just trying to be a complete asshole to you or somebody that's genuinely trying to help you. And again, I honestly feel at least people trying to go into full-time streaming, you should at least work a job full-time first. Like do 2 months and an actual job. It doesn't matter what the job is, McDonald's, fucking Parks and Recs, it doesn't matter, a grocery store, because if you at least have that interaction with people, you can start like separating that stuff. You can see what's positive and negative and criticism, because I feel like people go into full-time streaming never really having dealt with people outside in the outside world, and they automatically feel like everybody wants to help me, everybody's my friend. And anybody who says anything mean is wrong and hates me. But once you step outside, you know, the world is different. And then they stop streaming. They have to get a real job. And you jump into like, when I say real jobs, I'm sorry. Streaming can be a real job. It can be a real job. Anything is a real job.
I mean, I think it's okay when you say that, to be honest, because it's not a real job. It's running a business, which is different than having a job.
But it's a job. It's still a real job.
I don't think of it as a job. It's like being an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is different than having a job. You're running a business. You're not working for someone else. Having a job is working for someone else, in my opinion. So I don't get offended when people say that because it is a different thing.
Twitch, you're working for somebody at Twitch. But
you're
working for yourself,
business, though.
and you're working for Twitch.
Running a business is different than working for someone else because your pay is determined more by your own actions, and you have a lot more control over it, which it has its pros and cons. So I don't see it as a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've kind of divvied it out with like, if you're not building someone else's dream, you have to be building your own. And that's like the difference to me is like, I'm still building my dream. Even if I have a 1099 with Twitch or TikTok or whoever, like I'm still building my brand and my dream, and it's for me and moving like my community and my shit forward. I'm not building somebody else's dream. I'm not spending time at a job building their shit for them. I'm investing in myself still, even if I'm like, you know, contractually obligated by another entity.
Yeah, I legitimately see them as two like fully separate like mindsets, day-to-days. Like it's just because having a job is like doing something for someone else and then them giving you something for it. When you're running a business, you're doing a million things that are potentially serving someone else and then they give you something for it, rather than kind of like going for someone else's goals. You're going for your own. So
I get you
like
saying.
A very big shift.
But to kind of like wrap up my point, I was pretty much trying to get to like, when people who jump full-time to stream and never worked a outside job, they have to then go into an outside job. They're like, this is too much. Like, it's overwhelming because now I'm dealing with people face to face instead of behind a screen. Because in the real world, you can't hit a block button. You have to see that person every day. You can't hit a block button or ban them, time them out, you know.
That's what I've been saying about Twitter recently, to be honest. People are very upset about Twitter. And I'm like, you know that everywhere's going to have that. Just because it doesn't have it right now doesn't mean it's not going to have it later, where you're going to have an issue of people that you don't like being in your space. That's the real world. That's just, you have to learn how to deal with it wherever you go.
It's a real hazard.
Yeah, it was a naive take that I had when I first started streaming and in my corporate career, because I genuinely, to my core, went into my corporate career like, I can deal with any personality type. Like, I'll be fine. I can't. Okay, some people just fucking suck. Some people are just awful, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you can't like work with them, and it's annoying and awful the entire time. And some people are just like, they just sit in corporate structures that way, and you just have to deal, and you have to see them every day, and everybody knows you have that one coworker that nobody really likes, and like, but like streaming is kind of the same way. And I do think of a lot of these. I tweeted this like yesterday where I was like, damn, y'all are my coworkers now. Like, you're my coworkers. And that's like how I see a lot of people in this space, and kind of how I have to treat them. And some people do find me really formal, and I think that's because I came from corporate. Like, the way that I talk or the way that I engage in messages sometimes is kind of formal, where people are like, yo, you want to come on this podcast? And I'm like, thank you so much for thinking of me. I'll get back to you. And like I'm like, you know, like I'm still not.
Like, I just need a yes or no. I didn't need a whole email. It's like, I don't need a meeting.
Well, people will be like, that was very wordy, or that's a lot, or like they'll be like, I don't know why you said, like, people just don't get it because they want you to like react and be a bitch back. And it's like, that's not how my brain's gonna work. Like, I might be sassy sometimes, but I'm never gonna insult somebody, and you're not gonna trigger me to do it.
Yep. It's like you have to learn like different languages. And I'll say this about gaming and corporate too, is like corporate speak is its own fucking language, and that's insane. But gamers also have their own like chronically online language in some way. And we can't, like, I didn't merge them really unless I was working in gaming. I didn't really have the opportunity to be like, you know, say gamer cool stuff over here. Like, people didn't get it. Like, if I said GG's, my company would be like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, what does that even mean? And they're like a company run on acronyms.
Yep.
So it's like stuff like that, where it's, you have to learn a new language. You have to figure out how to like bridge that gap, or how formal you want to be. I have like a layer of like, I would say a layer of formal, I guess, attitude towards my community sometimes, where like, especially if people are coming to me for mental health, I have a layer of like, you know, like I respect you, I want to help you, I can support you, but like, if you cross my boundaries, I have to unfortunately step out of that situation. But it's formed in a very corporate way. Yeah. So I still use those skills, but it's a different language and a different way of speaking, and a totally different way of understanding even. And I kind of have to break that down still.
I think you brought up a good point that like there's jargon within each kind of like niche of things too, right? Like, your FPS jargon is going to be different than maybe like variety jargon, or, you know, your jargon. It's everybody's jargon is different. And I don't know. I just I lost my train of thought there, but like the jargon matters. I think we probably have some overlapping jargon because I used to work in telecommunications. So since you said Spectrum Charter, we probably have some weird words we know that are the same, but it just, that level of communication can be really difficult. And like you said, there's certain people that you don't think you could maybe even ever get along with. But I'm like a firm believer that if people come in it with the right intention, that anybody can sit down and have a drink and find things that they, you know, relate to each other 100%. On, you know, because we all have more similarities than differences. And I see that a lot with how you interact with people. So it's that makes it, once you understand that, a lot easier to do streaming and stuff. It's just, it can be difficult to even get there, and sometimes you forget and you go back into that corporate like
and it also, like, it comes down to like the brand pillars you want for yourself too. Like, I think a lot of people don't really sit before they go full time and really document like what type of streamer they want to be, what type of creator do you want to be, what do you want to stand for, what do you never want to engage with, what do you like, what are the pillars of your content, are you educational, are you not, like all of that fun stuff. And I think at the very beginning of my streaming career, I did that. And that was like that was sheer luck that I just like happened to do that exercise. And I think that helped me a lot, because it did really, really help me, especially in like Twitter and spaces that are kind of brutal about like what you're saying at all times. I wanted to like mental health transparency. I wanted to stand on the things that I believed in, and I wanted to like create educational content and have actual discourse, not just like, oh, you can't talk in my space, like whatever. But when you make a commitment to education, you're also bringing in people whose values and morals completely aren't aligned with yours, that are just like on the polar opposite spectrum of that. And you have to like
do you how do you feel about that? Because a lot of people won't associate with people who have different morals with them. They like cut them out. We see that every day, especially right now.
Especially
like, how do you
with the political spectrum of stuff.
How do you personally feel about that?
I was just talking about that. Mine truly just comes down to general respect. So like, I don't care for friends, I don't care for coworkers or mutuals, or like, you don't know me, whatever. If you engage in that conversation in a respectful way, and or even enter my DM and tell me like, hey, I mean this in a respectful way, I didn't mean this tone, like truly, I'll 100% respect you and engage in that. If you come at me with a tone that is like completely like just ridiculous, over the top, you're yelling at me from the very beginning, I know you're not engaging in this conversation in good faith, I'm out. And it doesn't matter who you are on that. And I'm not going to hear you out after that. Like, you can't have a conversation with me. We're not friends. So we need to step back from that. That's usually how I kind of treat that situation. But on the other end of that, I'm committed to educational content in such a way that like I can disagree with these people and also find common ground, but somebody somewhere has to also educate on like foundational facts. And that's kind of where I come down to like the research and the side of that, where I'm like, if this person is ignorant on this topic or they've never researched it and I have that research available, I am going to show them that. And if they engage in that, great. And if they choose not to, that's on them. I can't do much about that, but I know a lot of people will like hate my platform because I've engaged with those people. And that's just like how they're going to take that. And they just need to be okay with that because that's just like who I am. Somebody has to educate somewhere. And if that's a pillar I stand on it.
I want to go back real quickly to like what you guys were talking about, you know, the jargon and like speaking form and everything. That is very helpful and useful, especially in the streaming world, because when you guys approach like brands for sponsorships or connections, you can't just come in there and be like, hi, I am a streamer and I want to work with you guys and I think you should work with me because I'm cool and all this stuff.
I don't know. I still don't know what that word means, but like, you know,
it's ass. They got
look at me learning.
Ass.
I'm educated now.
So, but the thing is, it's very helpful because as me, who works in construction management, I can talk in multiple forms. And when you work in construction, the only thing people understand is the word fuck. So I can say fuck all I want in an email or something, and somebody get it. Well, I try not to say in emails, but in verbal, we're like, what the fuck? And people are like, we got it. But I learned to write emails way better and structure it better in a professional way. And so when you approach these companies, Elgato, freaking DX Racer, whoever it is, any company that you want to work with, the person you're talking to is not some young hip fucking guy or girl who gets your lingo. It's a person who spent 4 years in college, or 8 or more, has their master's in communications or whatever. They're at the desk and they see this email and they're going to read it respectfully. An email that comes out very formal, that introduces yourself, has good lingo, punctuation, and everything, is going to stand out way more than you just saying, you should work with me, dog. And I'm like, I'm going to work with this guy because he at least comes out more professional because you are the brand. Because when you sit down behind that screen, you have to sell yourself plus their brand and why their brand works. Now, if you are good-looking face, good-looking body, and everything, and charismatic, you could sell a brand like crazy because some people are just going to trust your word in it.
Yeah, but if you have the social proof, people are going to overlook you being able to have the jargon. But it's, again, a lever that you can pull if you are able to speak professionally, and a lot of people don't do that. And I know for me, if I'm looking to either hire someone or let someone on a project or, you know, let someone in on anything, if I see that they can't communicate effectively and they're just throwing out slang all day, I personally put that, like, they're just low immediately. And I don't mean that to insult anyone. It's just, if you cannot have specificity of language, then we're going to have a hard time having an effective partnership of any sort. And so I personally put that way down. I don't know about you.
I also I changed my level of engagement and like how I talk depending on like what I'm going for. Because like, again, like if you're on Twitter, let's just say, and you're talking to a brand, the social media manager is a Gen Z or Gen A person almost, who is literally just like having fun on the internet and doing a hell of a job on their social media management. But they're like, they understand the language. They are chronically online. That is literally their job. They understand it. They get you. The memes, you can meme back and forth with a brand. You can like say those funny things. But when you're in DMs or you're in emails, it is a completely different conversation because you are corporate at that moment. They are investing in you as a part of their brand. You have to be able to pitch yourself. You have to be able to articulate what you want your value to be to them and vice versa. And if you don't speak the same language, like it's hard. It's hard to engage with, and it's hard to like finalize those contracts and understand what the hell anyone's talking about. So if you want to have like the fun side of it, that's how you engage with brands on like the social media aspect. Like, have fun with like the Gen Zers that are running the socials and do it outwardly on their brand stuff. But when you're in emails and DMs, like, keep it a little bit more.
And it's really not that hard. I
opinion.
feel like it's pretty disrespectful to come into a conversation without being specific and without like just using your words. You know, if you're just being silly all the time, I feel like that's pretty disrespectful.
Yep.
But at the same time, you gotta remember, like, a lot of, like you said, like the Gen Zers and stuff. But even some of these newer companies coming up, a lot of them are ran by millennials and Gen Zers, but they still have a professional aspect to them.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been to school, you know, and written essays. Like, everybody knows at least a little bit of how to type.
Yeah, but some of us didn't even go to finish high school.
Even like the first couple of years of high school.
Well, wait, I finished high school. Don't get it wrong.
Like, I was writing heavy essays in middle school. You know what I mean? It's like the learning was there. We all learned basic language. You don't have to use fancy words to be specific, you know?
Yeah, you don't have to use fancy words, but you should be able to handle yourself, because you know how, like, people say code switching. You gotta be able to code switch. You gotta be able to switch on and off the wild side of you to a professional side of you. Everybody has like different sides to themselves. The way I act on stream is probably the same way I act in real life and at work.
Yeah.
Yep.
But once I start talking to people and writing emails, it's going to be very different. You're like, oh, okay, he's articulating himself in a manner where it's like, okay, let's see and hear him out. If you just come full send being your stream personality, it may push people back, because like, maybe you are good branded, but you're not. We can't work with you in that way, because you see it a lot of the time. People say you're a brand risk.
Yeah.
You're a risk to us.
And it can be hard to like code switch sometimes too. Like, I have trouble kind of going back to as much corporate now, but I've infused some of my corporate into what I do. And it can be very difficult to switch between the two when you kind of like just align it for yourself. And I look back on some of my old videos and content, and I was using really big words. And they basically tell you when you start on YouTube, if you talk to anyone, they're like, you have to dumb it down. You have to, because that will, you know, widen your audience, because more people will understand you instead of using the word like propensity. Just, you know, like,
what the fuck did you just say to me?
So legitimately, I watched one of my old videos the other day, and I was using so much of just like the language that I read and that I, you know, absorb, and I have dumbed my language down enough that that's how I speak always now. It's just like
a
I've
propensity
changed.
Towards like
a propensity for doing something, like you have a propensity for like having.
I need you to explain it to me and anybody who else doesn't know. Like, we're
a habit. You have a habit of something.
Oh, so say I have a habit. Don't use big words. I didn't go to college.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like, because these words mean something slightly more specific, and so I really like them. I love specificity of language. I did like vocab is my thing. Okay. But I've had to completely shift the way that I associate with everyone, because that's, if I speak that way, my videos won't get recommended as much, to be honest, and people will leave my stream because they'll be just fucking confused like you were.
I think since I announced too, I've gotten quite a few people asking about like the brand risk thing, because if you go to my streams or you've seen like some of my like crazier content, I cuss like a sailor. I make sexual jokes. I'm 420 friendly. I'll drink on stream if I want to. Like, I don't avoid anything really. And I have almost every content warning on. People will sit there and be like, you can't have any content warnings. You need to be brand friendly. You need to be family friendly. You can't cuss. You can't smoke. You can't drink. You can't do anything. And blah, blah, blah. And there's all these lists of rules. I have never adhered to a single one of them. And I have a decent amount of brand success, and I work with a decent amount of brands. And I've been industry side before too. And I will die on the hill that like all of the fear mongering around that is not as deep as it needs to be. But like, be an authentic good person. Don't be a racist, sexist piece of shit. That'll get you pretty far. And then you know, just move forward with who you are as a person. You're gonna misstep, but it's not gonna take away your entire like brand reputation in one thing, unless you're engaging in crazy, outlandish stuff like that, where you are a sexist, racist piece of shit. That's like the biggest blow ups that we see on Twitter. But being a brand risk doesn't come down to like if you cuss on stream or not. Like, some brands might see it that way, like it's super conservative brands, but you're not hurting your entire like brand reputation. So there's a brand out there for everybody also. Yes. I'll say that too. Like, there's some brands that are more edgy and more online, and they understand some of that stuff, and there's brands that want more of a like corporate side of you, and they want you to do like technical walkthrough videos. But like, you choose who you work with, and if you know that you want to communicate a certain way, you can choose to engage with brands that understand you as a creator. And I also make it very, very open in my contract negotiations. I'm like, please look at my Twitter. I'm very outspoken. please understand that I'm going to talk about really hard topics that are not like super common for mental health creators to talk about. I'm going to say things very bluntly, and sometimes they're very like, whoa. But those topics are important and they're part of my core community, and I make sure all of that is out on the table so that every brand I work with is not surprised by any of the like content I have out there. I will also say I know a lot of creators tailor like their almost like applications in a way, but they're like emails or whatever. They'll attach content they think that brand wants to see, and they'll usually scrub it and like make it, you know, this more formal side and not showing who they really are. That shit, in my opinion, will get you in trouble because you're almost like censoring what you're really like and trying to paint a picture of yourself that isn't really true. So then when you stream or you go back on TikTok and you're releasing content that doesn't fit the exact free videos that you sent them that are like squeaky clean, now they don't feel like they can trust you because you don't have that perception, actually. You don't have that reputation. So you have to just be authentic, and that's what will get you the brand deals that you need and want, not like censorship in any weird level of like, I don't know, can't engage in whatever.
So
like,
do you see that? With that being said, do you see that as like a challenge of like the whole debate with which one is harder? Because if you just broke that down, like, you know, in a corporate world, like you're working a 9 to 5, you have to carry yourself a certain way, you have to act a certain way, you have to make sure you're dressed in a certain way. So in the same way with streaming, you have to do the same things. So like you grab these brands. Well, while in the corporate world, is like if you don't even carry yourself in a professional way, you're just gone. So it's that.
Well,
it's
and in corporate, you have a lot of private
masking
communication, or I mean, it's not private, like anyone can see it, but like generally, it's not going to be in a public space where everyone's seeing it. You know what I mean?
But well, you know, I disagree with that.
No, like so, for instance, your brand is not built on your communication that is there for everyone to go to like a profile and see. You're building usually like with intention with individuals or small groups. Like it's not like you're sending out messages that are going, you know, the CEO's reading every day most of the time. And so it's a lot less of this like everything I do has to nail my brand. And if it doesn't fall under it, all of a sudden, you know, I'm going to have some issues here. It's like, not, you know what I mean? It's just like everything you do has a little bit less weight than everything you do in, I think, the content space.
Well, I disagree because in today's society, every company starts scrubbing your social media now. A lot of companies, especially when you start working in tech and some corporate.
Yeah, but a lot of people aren't using like their real names and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And they're
correct, but some companies will say if you don't provide that, it's just like they just like, don't see that as that. So if you're one way on Twitter, if you're fucking edgelord on Twitter and you go for a job interview and they find you edgelord Twitter.
I'm talking about like once you're in, and sure, maybe they scrub that sometimes. I'm talking about like on your day-to-day what you're doing, like as a creator.
Once you're in,
on your day-to-day what you're doing as a creator, everything that you do holds weight with the people who hold what you're doing, because you already said like you know that's your customer or your employer is the people that you're serving, right? If it doesn't have any weight for you because you're doing your full-time, that's where your weight is, and that's where you're not going to have as much of that like weighing. Does that make sense? Like if you are a creator and you are, everything that you do matters there, and that's your primary audience and what you're focusing on every day, that weight is a lot heavier than, you know, the weight of like sending some messages in a corporate setting. It's not going to be like, unless you're in a Slack channel with like everyone in your company, you're not, you know what I mean? It's just not the same weight.
But
like everything you do as a creator is looked at and can be looked at 8 years from now. You know what I mean?
I get that, but even as you're saying, with that being said, you know, working in a 9 to 5 job, or you know, just working in a space with any corporate, being the upper man, even this management or like tech or something, you have to carry yourself the same way in your work life and your socials too.
Not really.
Even after you get hired, wait, hold on. So hear me out. Even after you get hired, right?
But that's not your primary. That's not your job. It's sure they can fire you for something that you say, but that's not your job. We're talking about like every single day as a creator, your job is to provide entertainment or whatever else in a space. That's just like, okay, don't do anything that's going to piss off your company, versus like you're building a brand for everything that you do.
But it's the same.
It's a different reality. It's a different day-to-day reality.
I disagree. I disagree with you.
All right, let's let Hannah speak on it,
because pissing off different people. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, you're pissing off different people.
I get it. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I think I did 12 years in corporate tech in some form. Everything from startups to like hyper corporate. I signed social media policies at probably like 2/3 of those. And then probably a third of those, I immediately disclosed my socials because it was either a conflict or it was like in the same realm of the technology that they're producing. So I had to make it known, like, hey, I have social media in this vertical that you sit in. I am an influencer to some degree in this area. Just be aware that this social media presence exists. 99% of them never looked at it, didn't care, didn't give a shit, never looked at it past that. I did have one company come to me about my Twitter one time, and it was because I was getting harassed by like Twitter trolls, and I think they tried to find my company. Like, it was truly like a weird like doxing moment. So it wasn't even that serious, but like it is, if HR or like anyone in your company really wanted to find your socials, or even like a disgruntled like coworker wanted to like fuck you over somehow and send that to your employer, yes, you can absolutely be fired for that. Yes, they can absolutely like for anything actually on your socials if you don't disclose it. That's why I always disclosed it out the gate, because I'm like, you know who you're investing in right away, and you can't get mad at me for that after that point. That's how it's been easier for me. But yeah, you do piss off a different level of people. And I think people, I've seen it more than once in the corporate tech space where people have been fired for their social media. And I've also seen on Twitter the opposite side where people are like, I got fired at my job today because I tweeted, you know, I hate this bitch Nancy that I work with 10 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and
I feel like we see that on TikTok all the time now. Yeah.
And so it's like, yes, obviously, like, I'm sorry, but like in that instance, you're just being a dumbass. Like, you're posting your corporate job, you know, drama on the timeline. Obviously, they're going to be like, hey, don't do that. What the hell? Like, you signed a confidentiality agreement, I'm assuming, within your social media shit. So like, stop doing that. And don't be surprised when you get fired over it.
Yeah. So with that being said,
it's definitely a different mindset, is what I'm saying. Like you're.
Yeah, but you have to carry yourself the same way.
You don't.
Like,
you don't, because no, you don't, because the thing is, you need to be professional enough not to get fucking fired. But like when you are creating, and that is a brand that you're building to make a living off of, versus like just doing it for fun, then every single thing that you do is building your brand or working against it.
But when you work in an office or 9 to 5, like Hannah said,
you're not building a brand with them. They're not looking at every tweet and trying to decipher what that means. You know what I mean? Versus like your audience, you are building a brand or working against it. So everything that you do in social has more weight as a creator, and you are in the public eye. Like unless you're doing something that's going to get you fired, they don't give a shit about your socials in a corporate job.
They do. Hold on, they freaking do in 2024, because
you're not building a brand on your socials for your job.
I know you're not. I know you're not building a brand, but you're building a reputation in your company.
No, you're not. Everybody in the company is not looking at your socials every day.
No, hold on.
It's different.
Okay, you're different. You're 4% on this side. Okay, just hear me out. Okay, just hear me out. If I, Della, am the fucking office fucking person who is for mental health and saying mental health is important, blah 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 blah, ra-ta-ta-ta, right? My company doesn't know shit about my social media, right? They don't know who the fuck I am on social media, but they know in the office Della is the guy we go to for mental health. He's an advocate. He's a good guy. Fucking A Della. But on Twitter, I sit there and say, half you people here need to fucking buy some rope and
that's stuff that'll get you fired. You're not building. Listen. When you
I build a reputation here.
Dela, when you are a creator, what you are known for and your entire job is creating. And that's your job. When you have a different job, they don't give a shit what you're creating all the time unless it's going to get you fired. It's different. But you're not building a brand with the company by everything that you do on social.
You build a brand as a reputation.
It's different. Okay. You know, that's not your job.
It's the same.
It's different.
It's personal liability versus like company liability.
Exactly. It's personal. You're not.
Exactly. You put the company at risk here, and you're putting yourself at risk here.
Dela, if you have 100% of your time as a creator and everything you're doing is to build a brand, that's going to have a different weight than having some socials that they either like or don't like, but you are building a brand in a company by doing your fucking job. That's two different things.
But what I'm saying is,
what are you talking about?
If I have a reputation in my company as X person, but outside of the company, I am a fucking degenerate and I piss off one of these fucking people.
Yes, we agree on that, Zayla, but it's not the same weight. It's not the same way.
It is.
Because your
because
entire job as a creator
online.
is creating.
Okay,
That's your whole
we're
job.
gonna end the conversation.
All right,
we're gonna
let
stop
Hannah speak
because
again,
we're not.
I feel like
It's agree to disagree. All right.
Yeah.
Is it bad on both sides to be a dickhead?
yes, but it's not about you being a dickhead. Okay, let me put it this way.
Okay,
Even if I'm not being a dickhead and nothing that I do would get me fired from a job, all right? Everything that I do is going to be scrutinized if I'm in the public eye. If you are somebody who is like a professional creator at a level of like thousands, millions of people looking at your shit every single day, all right?
Yes.
That is your job. Everything that you do is going to be scrutinized. When you're in a job, in a business, right? And it's only scrutinized so far as like, don't do something that's going to embarrass the company. Don't do something that's related to the company even, and just leave it out of it, right? And just don't be an embarrassment, right? That's it. That's all they care about. Versus if I'm doing it in the creator space with all these eyes, there's a lot more I have to worry about than just getting fired.
You can't be an embarrassment
I have to not offend
you.
the wrong person. I have to make sure I'm not going against my own brand. I have to make sure I'm not saying something that's going to like fuck with me in the future. Not because it could get me fired somewhere, but because it's something that's so antithetical to what I'm doing.
And it can get you fired somewhere. It can prevent brand, like you can prevent your brand deals by yourself. Like a lot of people do that, frankly. Like that's why I was like we were talking about like the political side of Twitter coming out suddenly, you know, during election. That's another thing is like there are so many brands out there that will just scrub for political views. Just be like, hey, did you put this out online? And like that was my point in a lot of the political stuff that went out. I was like, hey, no one's forcing you to tweet this. I'm just letting you know that like if you tweet this,
that's the thing, Dayla. Nobody's going to tell you that you can't tweet about politics, okay? At your job most of the time, unless you have a very specific job.
That.
But when you, as a creator, right, that matters. That's what I'm trying to say. There's more that matters as a creator about what you say.
And there's times where it would bolster you too. If you have a brand, a politically activist like side to you and your brand, that would only engage with your following more, and that would bolster your community, and that would make, you know, brands that are okay with political affiliations flock to you. If you choose to never talk about it, that's also your thing, but they're different paths. And again, a lever you could pull. But
I get what you're saying. I understand and I hear what you're saying. At the end of the day, as you being a full-time content creator, you could be a degenerate and attract other degenerates, right? You could be a very positive. But at the end of the day, everything is scrutinized in a way. Like you said, I agree with you 100%. All I'm saying is if you're in an office space, right? Just because you're in an office space doesn't mean you're safe from the idiots who see a tweet and go send it to your job.
That's never what I said.
Not safe.
No,
you're arguing a point that I was not making.
I know you're not making that point, but that's what I'm trying to say. You have a reputation to keep at work, and you have a reputation to keep online. If you're a full-time content creator, you have a reputation to uphold. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Agreed. When you're at work, you have a reputation to uphold in the position you are in.
So let me ask you a question. Does it matter differently when you are a creator versus in a job?
No.
You don't think it matters at all?
No. Because it holds the same weight. I feel they both hold the same weight.
You can talk about politics on your account, and that won't matter to your job, but it might matter to your audience.
It can matter to my job if one of these idiots from my audience sends it to my job and say,
if you just say that you're like, let's just say that you work for like a really Republican company and you post Democrat stuff, right? It's like, okay, they're not going to necessarily fire you for that, right?
Correct. But will the people I work with see me different and alienate me?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
The same thing in the streamer space. If I start sitting there saying, yay, Trump.
But again,
when I don't,
they're not necessarily reading your socials. You might disclose it to like HR, but the rest of the people that you work with aren't necessarily going to know your personal socials.
Again,
so they're not going to know and see it.
But it spreads. It's office space works.
It doesn't necessarily spread. I had a completely separate brand that I was building in this that nobody at my workplace knew about.
Okay,
and
are we gonna move on?
There was nothing I was posting that was bad, but they didn't know about it.
We gotta move on from this because me and Matt
gamer.
could talk about this for hours, and
I love
me and Matt are not. We're just gonna keep clashing, and we're just gonna not agree. So let's end it here. It's one of these topics that me and Matt just say, you know what? We'll shake hands in it.
I mean,
Good
it is
game.
important to the topic. But we want to hear from Hannah. So
yeah.
No, I love it. I think it's great.
Okay, so with that said,
Okay, moving on.
With that
Moving
said,
on.
what do you
As
think
you see here,
is?
Hannah, we are
You've answered
very-
what you think is harder about like the 9 to 5. So what do you think is harder as a streamer?
Creativity and motivation being one. So like again, motivation is fleeting. It's not a standard like stream of something that you can just feed off of. You're not always going to be motivated as a creator, but like you have no choice. This is your job now. So like, what do you do when you have no motivation or creative like bone in your body in that moment? What do you do when you can't produce that day or be on that day or, stream and be your normal upbeat self? What do you do when you're sick or tired or need days off? Like, what does all of that look like? That's fully on you now. It's not set by another company. You have to decide how you handle those things. You have to decide with how many hits you're okay taking and not streaming in a row or not producing content. So that motivation part was a big deal for me, and putting frameworks around how to actually step out of a job that gives me that framework organically, and now I have to just make it myself. That was a bit weird. The extreme parts of being a creator in terms of like stalkers, parasocial people latching onto you, those harder conversations, kicking people out of your community, engaging with other streamers, collabs, all of that people management side of stuff, I would say is a little bit harder. Like corporate side, obviously, like, yes, you bridge into personal lives like a little bit, but like there's a heavy component in content creation and being a streamer where people are heavily telling you their personal lives and like how they navigate that or want your support or expect you to like be there for them in these instances, and you can't be everywhere. And so how do you handle that? Me being in the mental health space, that opens a completely different door with a completely different set of rules and people and crisis management a lot of the times. I'm lucky to have certifications and backing and education and stuff like that, but when I have situations that are harder and DMs like that's a mental hit for me. It is. It just like it takes away from my ability to perform my job 100% because some situations are sad or hurtful or dangerous or just stuff I have to deal with that I wouldn't have to deal with in a corporate setting. But it's by the nature of the content I produce. What else? I would say the technical side of stuff is like a thing. It's a component. I won't say it'll like make or break your stream, but like for the longest time, I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know what to use to edit. I didn't know how to go about editing. I was like completely, just I had no clue about any of it. And it took me like, 4 months of diving through a rabbit hole of like what I could do and where I could go with all of that to learn that. So I would say like banking on your technical skills and like bolstering those in certain instances is important. But like, when do you do that? When do you invest in that? Do you have an editor? Do you do it all yourself? All of that stuff is like a whole other business side decision. I'm also very lucky that I was a designer in real life in my job. So like I get to design my own overlays, my own logos, my own stuff. So I don't have to pay for that. That's like a plus.
You don't
for
have those
me,
damn bots in your email
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, I make logos. Would you want one?"
No, but they do pop into my chat, and then I get to roast them. So it's fine. But yeah, it's honestly just like those business lines or like even the accounting side. Like I didn't know for the longest time that I was supposed to be keeping receipts for gifted subs, or I should be like, trying to figure out like how I should do my taxes quarterly or stuff like that, where it's like the business side of those things. The second you go full time, it was like a trigger in my brain of like, oh shit, this is like extra real with like the accounting and the money part. Cause I'm like lower in knowledge on that end. So then you have to tap like other people in the industry or try to figure it out. But the cool thing about gaming and streaming is there's like almost an industry leader for damn near every part of it. So like your local tax guy is a guy on Twitter who I love, who just helps streamers with taxes. That's his whole thing. That's his whole content. Incredible. Like I'm so lucky that creators like that exist so that I can like knowledge transfer with. But you don't really have that in a corporate job all the time.
I mean, you didn't have like anybody as a mentor, like anybody that's able to assist you, like
I did.
like, books?
Yeah. For a while, but it's also just like the higher you get in your career, like after 10 years, you're just kind of like, I know things. I don't really want to like spend time learning new shit if we're being so for real.
That is true.
And it almost feels like the benefits of a regular corporate job are that you don't have to deal with a lot of that, right? Like they do a lot of that for you. They make those strategic decisions for you. You're getting a paycheck either way.
Yeah, you have a technical issue in corporate, you send your laptop in, they fix it, whatever.
Yeah,
you have
and
a
you're still
technical
getting
issue
paid
on
for
stream,
that time, right?
Like,
you go to YouTube.
Yeah, you hope your mods can help, or you hope somebody in chat can help you out.
If I had a tech issue or there was like a company-wide internet issue, I was still getting paid, you know? So it's different than when you have tech issues now. That's all on you. It's like the responsibility level is so much higher.
But I want people to know watching this is that we are speaking from the very basic level of streaming. We're not talking about these big streamers, because these motherfuckers, they have a technical issue. There's a whole team that could come out and fix it for them. And they could take a 2-day hit. They could take a week hit. Some could take a month hit.
Some of them could just retire. So yeah, like with that said, what do you think is making these streamers say that? Like, what do you think is in their mindset where they're making, you know, $20,000 in like a day? Why would they even be stressed at that level? Why would they think that streaming is so hard compared to a 9 to 5, you know?
I think it comes down to like 3 things. One is like the psychological side, and I only know this because I looked this up because I had the same question. Is like, why do people, any successful human at the top of their shit in any industry, why do they tend to always go back to like, you know, giving some like platitude, like bullshit advice to the people at the bottom, or like some level of disconnected thing? Like, why do they keep saying this? And there is research to back that, like, the more, the higher you go in your industry and the richer you get, the more likely you are to say that you're self-built, self-taught, self-motivated, and that people didn't help you. You become more intrinsically, like, valued, like, overvalue in yourself and not for the journey that got you there or the people that helped get you there. So that, I think, honestly, is like a heavy part of it. 2 is that these people have likely been in these roles for like a really long time. So if you look at like the Tim the Tatmans, the Ninjas, the XQCs, right? These people have been there since 2011, 2015, 2013, whatever. I don't want to like invalidate or knock the fact that they've been through some horrific shit with like the stuff I just listed, with like parasocial relationships, the negative side effects of your mental health, the craziness that can happen within this space. And they have other shit too, because they are at a higher level. They have different levels of stalkers. They have different levels of security. They have different levels of stuff they have to deal with from people and the public in general. So like, that's okay. I understand that side of it. But I think they're genuinely just disconnected from that journey. I think they've
I will 100% agree with you on that.
I think they've fully forgotten kind of how that, because it is really easy to do in this space. I've done it. Shit, I'm not big at all. I've disconnected from like how I've gotten places, or it's really easy. If you don't have success for like 2 to 3 weeks, it's really easy to get in your head and be like, wow, fuck, like, what do I do? Or like kind of your mental bounces back and forth. And I think for the most part, most of them are probably referencing that mental battle, that mental health issue, where they're like, they feel very spread thin, they feel very stressed because of what's going on in their head, but like their job as it sits in front of them now isn't the most stressful part of that journey overall. They're probably at a pretty good spot in terms of like stress level for engaging with streaming as a job right now, but like that journey was probably hell.
Yeah,
I get that. I can understand that.
I think from your perspective as somebody who's good at like the whole mental, like, you know, you do mental health. I think sometimes it's just their attitude too. It's like the mentality surrounding it, because everyone has problems. And even if you solve all of your problems today, you're going to have new problems tomorrow. We're just humans that solve problems. It's part of our just human nature. We're always going to not just like create problems, but mentally we kind of are, right? So, I mean, do you think that's part of why it's just like we're always going to be looking for something to solve? And so that's what they're doing? Like, because clearly they don't have any survival issues, you know?
Yeah. That, and I also think there's a heavy component in all of this that I think people miss a lot, is that people see success really fast in this space. And a lot of these people grew up at 16, 17, 18, 19 with millions of dollars suddenly. And so they're faced with like, they can't manage money. They don't have necessarily like super big life social skills. They haven't had a real job yet. They might be competitive in their esport, but they're not like, you know, they don't have like an outside job because of that or whatever, or their parents funded their like help with all of this. So they are a kid essentially with like immense success suddenly. And then they grew in this space and like they carried that, but the emotional maturity required for all of that and the emotional maturity that comes along with that was never learned, because you're an isolated gamer sitting behind a screen doing this. And so you lose a heavy amount of your emotional maturity, your ability to like make logical decisions in these moments, financial literacy, general just like, you know, support systems. You don't build a lot of that up. Sometimes some of this was so instant. And so that's why I am sympathetic to that mental health side of it, of like, I could see where that would really fuck up an 18-year-old, or like, you know, they had millions of dollars here, but now they're declining. What the fuck do they do? Like, you know, they're so early in their careers that it's like, I don't have that issue. I'm 32. I've had a very successful, nice career I feel very secure in. if they're at the peak of this and they've never had another career and they see that declining, they see that as an instant threat. They're immediately like thrown off balance of like, oh my God,
because it's
my
their whole
entire life is
identity.
deteriorating.
Yeah.
I grew up on screen. I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
I see
We're right there.
It's different.
Sometimes I see it as they're like, just like you said, they make their own problems and they want to try to fix their own problems. Like it was, from what I was told, it's called like the superhero what is it called, superhero syndrome or something. But also these people, I see it as sometimes they it's like a way to discourage up and comers. Like, this is hard, this is fucking hard. It's
like,
a
game.
If I'm trying to get into streaming, I'm like, okay, this looks easy. I'm watching like somebody I look up to, Ninja, Tim the Tatman, freaking Shroud and stuff, and they're saying like this stuff is hard and other stuff. The minute I hear that, somebody who's like anxious about things, and like half the people now growing up now is like, they hear one negative thing, they're like, oh God, the sky is falling. That could automatically take me back. And going on top, you say like these people who have been in the limelight from like 16 and then instant fame and gratification to get to a certain age, you see the decline. The perfect example of, if you look at like Floozy has been, he's old school. He goes back to YouTube when it was like doing dark pranks and like during the time of Filthy Frank. Fast forward to now, you see his mental health is like, it's bad. It's really bad and it's scary. But the thing is, like, the one thing that's never off is this, what we're looking at, a camera. It's never off. It's always on him, because it's like, my whole life is this. It's content. Everything I am is content. And at the same time, your mental health starts to deteriorate and people see it. And it's like, this is real reality show. This is a real reality show in real time. Like, we're watching somebody go from, I have to do this because this is all I know, and without it, like, I'm the greatest, that ego, because you remember, these people got up to where they are because what? Everybody love bombed them, the ego, the money and stuff, and they feel like to the top of the world. But as your walls start crumbling, you're just like, I don't know what to do, but I'm gonna do something. And it's just sad.
And so it's not money for them that's the stressor, it's the identity, and if they feel like they're losing
it
it all.
It's intrinsically like interwoven with like their sense of being, and so like that's why I understand, because like it's all relative, right? So like if you're in the biggest mental battle of your life because you don't understand your identity, streaming sucks. I get that. Like, it would obviously be terrible if you were in that battle. I think that there's also the whole side of like, when people enter this space and they don't really understand like where to go or what to do, they tend to like lean on the like groups around them. So you end up with groups like, like Tim Tat and Nick Merckx and all them like kind of grew together. They kind of came up at the same time in the same way, to rely on each other, and they form like little packs. And you kind of have those groups of like uber successful people in different areas, but really low accountability. So that's another part of all of it, is that like, these people aren't checked very often. And I don't mean checked in like a, like, oh my God, like you need to completely change, or like, you're a shit human or whatever. They're just not told no often. And sometimes that creates circumstances where like the entitlement is there, but they just need people around them that are like more grounded than the people that they have near them in this instance. So like,
they have a lot of yes men.
People. Yeah, they have a group that's like, yeah, dude, like do whatever you did to get you there. And maybe we're in a different phase of life. Maybe we're like, we need to change those things or alter the way that we're going about stuff. But they don't have the tools to do that. They're just like, again, just a gamer.
Yeah.
No skills.
Well, because we're all going to have
so they just get stuck
bias.
And they think it's all like, it's all just yes men being like, yeah, dude, do it. And it's not. Some things don't need to be done, and some things are a terrible idea, and you need people around to like check that.
Well, and I think you said something important about like the way like they attribute it to themselves and what they've done.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we're always going to have hindsight bias about like what we've accomplished or failed at, and we're going to attribute it to different factors, whether or not those are true. And it's really hard to identify what actually got us there, like what math equation worked, right? And so people will be like, well, I'm successful because, or I'm not successful because. And then people will take that and they'll try to act on it, and it doesn't actually accomplish anything, because first of all, their circumstances are different, and second of all, you might not have any idea what actually happened. And so when they get that ego and then people are just feeding it, it's not necessarily like, oh, look at them, they have an ego, fuck them. It's like legitimately they're looking back and that's just how they see the story.
When you were crying and I was fucking with you playing, whatever, like, come on. But internet addiction also plays a part in some of that, in my opinion. And that's where you end up with like I'll use Jack as an example. People who end up filming content in very serious, dangerous situations because they can't slow their lives down or unweave the fact that this is a job. And now they don't have a real life because the job is the real life, and they've intertwined it so much that they don't even see that line anymore. And that to me is like the biggest mental health risk and addiction risk in all of this, is that like once you stop seeing that line of real life and content, you have effectively like made your entire life and every personal moment that you'll ever have from that point forward be content. He almost filmed someone almost dying. Like that's not, you can't ever come back from that, in my opinion. Like there's no mental space that you can justify that. It's just this one. It is pure internet addiction and being chronically online, and I need to produce content 24/7. And if I don't, I have no value in a social currency and blah, blah, blah. And it's all the like reasonings that they keep giving for like why they keep doing these things. And you're like, you know, I hope I never get to a place where I'm like speeding in a car, you know, in a rainstorm and streaming, and I put my friends at risk because I can't drive. And the first thing out of my mouth is, oh my God, film for content as my friends hurt. Never. I hope I never get there. Holy shit.
And people don't understand what it takes to get to that, you know? And I think that's what they're trying to describe, right? Is like they get into this mentality of, you have rewarded me when I am successful, so I will continue to do what it takes to be successful. And they don't think about, is this right or wrong? They think, is it going to work?
There is no morality compass because it's all content. It doesn't matter what happens because it's content. And that is a line that like I refuse to cross, and I will call it out every time with every detached streamer, because I'm like, at some point, like that's why I tell so many people to just step away. I'm like, fucking log out of Twitter, delete the app, do whatever you need to do for X amount of time, because the second you blur that line, you don't come back from it. You don't come back from it in content. You don't come back from it in reputation. You don't like. You just don't. It's a shit place to be. And I don't really understand how people get there all the way. But like we have teenagers there right now, currently, with millions of dollars that are spiraling right in front of us. And we're like, oh, ha 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 ha, what a dumbass.
Yeah, it's the new age of the Colosseums.
Yeah.
The Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, all these places are just Colosseums, and we're watching these gladiators make idiots of themselves. And we are entertained because we're literally watching the descent of people, and we're going ha 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 ha. You ever saw you ever saw the movie Gamer?
I
don't know.
There's a movie called Gamer, and it has the fucking guy who played in 300, who played Ian Nice in 300. Yeah. So in Gamer, it's everything is like being controlled. So there's like the Sims. You guys ever played the Sims, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now imagine the Sims where you are controlling the people. Mm-hmm. You're actually controlling people. Mm-hmm. Like their job is to go to this place, and when they go to this place, they get in control by people like me and you. Mm-hmm. And they live out their real life like that. And we get entertained for this because we can make these people do stupid shit, hurt themselves, put themselves in dangerous situations, and we laugh and get excited. And who gets paid in the end? They do. Or they're paying off a debt to society because of criminal offenses and all this stuff. And the inmates are playing Call of Duty, but you are playing the inmate.
Yep.
So this is what's happening. We are in control of these people, and we're watching them because the more we watch, the more dangerous things they do, the more stuff they do, the more they act out. Yep. And it's crazy because like it's sad because we're blaming them for the stuff because we encourage it. We are giving them the views. The more views we give them, the more
streamers praising it.
Exactly. And I like what you said about, the circles of things. Aside of, what you see in streaming and what I've learned in streaming, and like I wish I knew this before I started streaming, I would have never did it. There are people who will stand by you to a certain point and then just drop you in a heartbeat. Like I've had people who said that they're cool with me, they're my friends, like anything I need, I can reach out to them. The minute you piss off the masses in a way where it was like just not agreeable with a few people, those people are just like, I can't fuck with you anymore, I'm done with you. Or they're just like, I just needed you to get to a certain point and now I stepped over you. And they'll never say it aloud, but you'll see it.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks because it kind of sucks because you build bonds with people and you like, little cliques or whatever you have, and the minute they could just exile you, like it's fucking survival.
It's
like,
truly not like a growth moment. I harp on this pretty bigly. That's not even fucking. Anyway,
bigly's a new word today. Word of the day,
I harp
bigly.
on this bigly, which is like your direct circle can make or break your experience in this entire thing. And I will like die on that hill. I had a really terrible experience when I first came back in 2020, trusting the wrong people, and it destroyed me for way too long. And I still regret that. And I wish that I took the time to really like fundamentally like even write down a list of like, here's the creators I greatly respect and want to be closer to. Here's the people that I genuinely want to try to like form connections with, and then do that. Don't form like surface level, like little, haha, like, yeah, everything's great connections. I mean, really, truly a real connection. People that can call you on your shit, people that can tell you things are a bad idea and you trust them, people that can give you feedback on content, real feedback, not just like some, oh yeah, I love it, oh my God. Like, form real connections, do real things, because if you don't have that accountability is gone and you can lose your mental so easily.
Yeah, I think I lost like probably 4 months of like my full time to just the mental health of it. I had to take some time off. I was just not doing a lot because people are mean and they will betray you and they will stab you in the back and they'll do whatever they can to try to take you down because it's just brutal out here. And once you've had that moment and you've seen that at least once, it like breaks you as a creator and you have to build yourself back up. It's like almost like the same mentality of like your first love or your first breakup, like just tearing you down. It like makes you have to rebirth into the industry.
It's a true canon event here. And unfortunately, like you can't even like warn people or watch it like you just have to let it happen, and then they move differently after that and they get it. But like until then, you just don't understand this space. And thank God, like I'm glad there's people still out there that haven't been burned so badly that they're not jaded like that. But like that is the reality of the space, unfortunately, and it is something you're gonna have to deal with and like manage for the rest of the time that you're a creator. And I wish it wasn't a thing. Like I wish I could just sit in my little corner of the internet and ignore other people, but like this is my job, so I can't. These are my coworkers. I have to engage, and if I have to engage, then I am in control of who and when I engage, and I'm gonna try to be as brutal as I can in that, because that's the only like sense of control I get in that situation.
And like it happens in corporate too, to be fair. There was one guy, when you mentioned like the guy that nobody likes, like I had this like recollection, deja vu of this guy who would talk shit about everyone else on the team. And we didn't realize it for a long time. Like we kind of heard a little something, something. And he had been saying just all sorts of nasty shit about everyone else on the team, but like very passively aggressively, to the point that you don't even call it shit. It's just like he's kind of tearing everybody else down. And to like other people. So it was kind of public in that sense, outside of the team. But here, in the creator space, it's public for everyone, and unless you address it, your audience may never see it. It's why these public apologies and all of these things, it's like, just don't say a word. Your audience doesn't give a shit. They love you. Like, just leave it alone. Let those people talk shit.
I've had a lot of like moral battles on that in the past. And like, I don't always get it right. I don't think a lot of people always get it right, but to some degree, you just kind of have to like decide what you stand on and fucking do it and just roll with it. And there's nothing you can do about it. But I also think in the space, like the shit talkers, the people in the background, I think before I got into all of this, I would have called those higher level streamers fucking insane if they tried to tell me like, oh, people just make shit up about you. I would have been like, no, there's probably some truth in it and you might just not be like reflecting properly. No, there are genuinely just people who just say fucking outlandish shit about you and you can't do anything about it. And you're just like, all right. But like, that's reality. And like, 5 years ago, if I wasn't in this shit full time, I would have been like, you're crazy. That's not real. Like, that's not happening. It's happening so often. I'm like, this is concerning. Like, this is actually concerning, and there's not much you could do about it. Like, you just kind of.
It just really sucks. Like, especially when you say that things. Like, I have to like let people know prior to like anything association with me. I have to say like, if you associate yourself with me, a lot of people may not like you because I associate with people they may not like. Like I told Matt from this job, like you want to do this because like I don't want to fuck up your brand because I am associated with people who don't like certain people. Like that's how it is. And even the guys I work with now, I work very closely with other streamers, and I'm a part of like the production team and like doing like live shows. I'm like, bro, like, are you sure you want to do this? He's like, yes. Like what you do on your shit is your shit. but I know who you are as a person. That's at the point we're at with everything. Even as a streamer, if you associate with X person, everybody automatically thinks you're the same as that person. Just like in the workplace. If you hang out with the weirdo in the office, which I always did because I had this weird thing. It was like that weirdo, the day he goes postal, he's like, you were nice to me and let me go. But who you surround yourself with in any space, people will automatically judge you. If you're not surrounding yourself with the wholesome community of streamers, you're oh, that person is like kind of they're a little bit toxic because they're in that side and they talk to one person.
And I don't know about you, Hannah, but I'm like 100% like that, which is why I was like, yeah, I want to do this because I don't associate with groups. And at this point, I am fully disassociating with all groups, like, because I had a situation recently that just like finalized it for me where I was like, okay, this group of people, there's like a subset of people that I found had blocked me because of the new block thing where you can kind of see it a little bit more easily. And I was like, this is on the side of people that I thought I was fine with. I've never said anything mean to this group of people. And so I've gotten to a place now where I'm like, you know what? I don't ever label myself with a group again. I am an individual. I like to associate with individuals. And I think you're kind of the same as both of us on that. And that does get you into hot water because people don't like that. They want you to fully be like, I would never talk to this person, you know? Like
I have my own hard lines. Like I'm not gonna, you know, like everybody has their hard lines of shit they won't do, like whatever. But again, I stand firmly on the education stance. You can't educate people if you fucking block them outright for having a conversation. So like there's nothing I can do about that. And I mean, shit, people hate me for like I'm a huge mental health advocate. I have the training to back it. I know I'm a mental health advocate. I know what I've been through and I stand on that 100%. But people hate me for how I phrase my mental health posts. They hate me for how blunt I am about mental health. They hate me for typing the word suicide out aloud. They hate me for like all kinds of things. I'm even in mental health groups where they're like, well, I think it should be all positive, fluffy, haha all the time. And I'm like, that's not what healed me. I'm not doing that. Yeah. So like there's different levels to all of this, and that's what I need people to understand is like your content, there's subgroups in that content that is going to do it and execute it completely differently than the way you do, and they're just going to hate you for that alone. Like they just hate you because you're executing it differently than they would. So be it. And again, I fully 100% believe in karma, especially in this space. Like if you want to bash me and rip an opportunity away and not fucking engage with me because of like whatever or something, then like that's your karma. I have nothing to do with that. Best of luck. I want everybody to eat. Sometimes it's not at my table, and that's all I got.
I like that saying. I want everyone to eat, but not necessarily at my table.
It's funny. It's funny because how me and Hannah like actually started talking. It was like she made a post. I disagreed with her, and I was like, I don't like this because of. I just don't. No. I was like, fuck out of here with this shit. And she DM'd me, and she was like, hey, let's talk. And I don't know if she expected me to be a fucking. I guess I don't know if she expected me to go full asshole on her, but like we had a conversation, we talked, and she talked, and I was just like, hey, and I've always told this to Matt too. You could write it 20 different times, you're gonna still piss off somebody. No matter how careful you think you wrote it, no matter how many people you listen to, somebody's gonna go, you fucking dirty asshole, you motherfucker, how dare you? Like, what did I do wrong? You didn't include this. You forgot this. So it's like. I'm in the passion of this, like, I'm going to write respectfully as best as I can. If I piss somebody off, fuck it. I tried. So that's why like, you know, I can see the pros and cons of being a full-time content creator. I can see why some say this is harder. I can see it because, again, it's hard as fuck in your mental health. It is fucking hard as fuck in your mental health. Like, it could kick your mental health to the shit where you end up in an insane asylum. In a workplace, can you shut off sometimes? Yes and no. Can it fuck with your mental health? Yes, because go talk to a line chef. Go talk to those guys.
I've been like,
those guys are off the rocker.
Yeah, I mean, I was institutionalized off my corporate job. I'll say that out loud with my whole chest. 110%. The pressure, the people, the bullshit I had to deal with 100% contributed to me getting institutionalized. 100%. And I was streaming at that time still, but like I was at like a good point in my streaming career that wasn't weighing on my mental health the way that my job was. But like, if you let your mental slip in any direction with corporate, this shit, anything else, and you don't step away, like I am probably the most outspoken I've ever been on that topic, which is like, you have to fucking protect yourself in this shit. Like you just have to. Being online is so different than how we remember it, and something we have to remember in gaming and streaming is that we haven't seen the end of a generation fully retire off this shit yet. We're in the middle of that. The streamers and the gamers and the content creators that made this a real job, a real opportunity for the rest of us are just now hitting that peak of like, I'm retiring, I'm leaving socials, here's what's happening. And that is just now occurring. We haven't seen end game of all of this shit and the mental health aspects of it. We are not there yet. And so when people at the top speak out pretty heavily about like protect your mental, like that's the one thing where I'm like, I need people to pay attention the fuck to that, because if they're saying that and they have all this money, like that's a trigger to me to like pay attention to that, as like that was their biggest, hardest part of their journey, and I need to listen to my mental and like really pay attention to that, or it won't. I can't be a good creator if I'm fucking gone, you know?
I think different was the key word there, rather than harder or easier, because I had a lot of mental health issues towards the end of me leaving as well. Actually, no, it was leading into 2020, which like then I started planning like, can I get out of this? Because I actually had to have like surgery for like a physical issue that arose from it, and then and it'll be a chronic for the rest of my life because of it. And then the mental health too, I was in a much worse state than I am now. Even though I'm stressed now and I work all the time, it's stuff that I enjoy. And so it's different mental health concerns. You know, I have moments where I just call a friend. I'm like, can I yell for a minute? You know, and it's different than back then where, I wanted to yell sometimes too, but it was less personal. You know, it was just a job. Versus now it really does tie into your identity a lot. And
you choose to move differently again. Like you choose what you interact with. If you're only sitting there all day arguing with trolls, trying to fucking convince people to like you, you're gonna have a shit time. It's just gonna like you're gonna have a terrible experience. You're gonna hate every second of it. But if you can balance that, which like I used to be that, I used to go at trolls constantly on Twitter. I used to be known for it. I used to be known for converting trolls and being a dick back and speaking in their language and fighting fire with fire. But that's just not who I am anymore, because it doesn't get me anywhere mentally. It's just fucking pointless. So like there's certain things that you learn along the way to just like help your mental health, and like it's just not losing sight of that after that fact, because I watch a lot of people find it and then lose it again, where they'll be like falling back into old habits, or like, you know, they finally get to a place where they feel really strong in their content, but they haven't taken a break in 3 years, and you're like, dude, like please just do something to benefit your mental health a little bit and be brutal about it. Like you don't have to sit here and engage with half the shit that you're engaging with. It's a choice. If you're not changing, you're choosing that. So like, I'm not sympathetic to that anymore after that point. If you're just like sitting there choosing to flood yourself with negativity 24/7.
Exactly.
It's more your choice instead of in a job where sometimes it's really not your choice. And I think that's where that like differentiates. It's like you have the power, and that is both good and a responsibility all at the same time.
So get with so start wrapping everything up and closing the arguments and everything. So we can all agree that there are challenges as a full-time streamer and as a full-time employee. And no matter what, somebody's going to say it's harder. But at the end of the day, it's as hard and as easy as the person makes it. Can we all agree on that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. So I just have some final questions for you. It's very simple questions. Yep. It's off the rocker questions, and it's like, you know, just very light questions.
Hell yeah.
So question 1, chunky or smooth peanut butter?
Smooth. I can't do chunky.
You're a psychopath.
I am.
Yeah. Toast with jelly or toast with jam?
Ooh, jam. I'm a sucker for homemade jam.
Good question, guys.
Yeah.
Mouse and keyboard or good old-fashioned controller?
I'm a hybrid player. I switch per game.
Mouse or keyboard or good old-fashioned controller?
Okay. I play the most on mouse and key, so mouse and key.
Okay, you ever switch your mouse to the other hand just for fun, since you're hybrid?
No. Who does
you
that?
Should try it. Me.
No.
I forgot. This is why I gotta fight you. I forgot. You're that person. I can't work with this woman anymore. I can't. Okay. And then, final question. Did you have a good time?
I did. It was wonderful. Love you both.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Leave a positive feedback.
Yep. This is my formal review for this entire thing. 10 out of 10.
We really appreciate having you come on here, Han, and sharing a lot of information with us. And I want to apologize for me and Mad's outbursts of, you know, back and forth.
I think it's great.
But as you can see, as a lot of people like to say, you know, when you do podcasts, you're doing it with people you agree on. Not always. No. As me and Mad always have clashes and don't always agree on things, but we could be civil. And notice, I didn't call her names. She didn't call me names. But as soon as this camera go off, she's going to call me every mean name in the book.
Yeah,
she's a very mean
just bully him for like an hour.
Damn. Canceled on Twitter. Bye.
Yes. But thank you again for joining us. And And everybody watching, please let us know, which one do you think is harder? Do you think it's harder to be working in a 9 to 5 where you got to wake up every day and get there and you may hate your job, or you got to wake up at whatever time, stream for 8 hours, 10 hours plus? Let us know which one is harder in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you all for sitting by and watching. I'm Della.
I'm mad curious.
And you are
Fox on the Rocks.
Thank you so much for coming, and we will see you in the next one. Peace out.